LS versus 20 Redditors.
20 Redditors versus LS. Let's hear it.
Content creation is responsible for the demise of League of Legends.
Nice. With a straight face too. Content creation is responsible for the demise of
Watch the
League of
entire
Legends.
LS
Just
reading
hearing
LoL
that-
Wiki and analyzing it. Bro, he did that shit for what, 15 hours? And then they immediately made the new patch that's gonna have like huge updates to everything.
That statement flat out seems so delusional because I think one of the main things that
16
propelled
hours,
League of
oh my
Legends
God.
forward was streaming culture and content creation. There wasn't as many streamers.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna do a bit of a blast to the past now. I don't know how many of the people watching right now are EU versus NA, but the one thing that NA had over EU for a long time was even though EU had more players, NA had way more content creators and way better content creators. They had like Yasuo was a big one. They had I'm a Cutie Pie at his peak. He was fucking huge. They had Dom was pretty popular, but he wasn't like as popular as these other guys. Tyler 1 was a huge one. Well, it's like in EU, who did we have? We didn't really have anybody. It's like it's later on now that we have Kadril, we have Baus, we have Nemesis, right? That we have a lot of these bigger personalities and bigger streamers. But back in the day, it was all NA. Like nearly everybody on Twitch was NA. We had CivHD. We did have CivHD, but he was more of a YouTuber. We definitely had some good YouTubers. We also had like No Way For You, but he's German, right? The thing is, we didn't have any English ones. I think that's the biggest one. There were some German ones. There were some Spanish ones. Broxa wasn't a content creator back in the day. He was just a pro player. Janko's the same thing. Oh, Spazzy. I remember I used to love watching Spazzy, actually. But Spazzy as well, I would say it's like a YouTuber. I'm thinking like streamers type of vibe.
As many people that pushed.
Gripex. I remember I used to watch Gripex. But he wasn't that popular. Gripex was not that popular. He was popular, but not that popular. He was not like Tyler 1, I'm a Cutie Pie, Yasuo popular.
A game and
So the thing is, NA always had that like advantage. But then as the game declined, everything kind of fell apart.
esport forward as hard as pro players in the early days and as hard as content creators in general. So I completely disagree with that take on the surface. Let's see what he has to say.
More NA players were in LTA, we'd watch more. No, you wouldn't. Pro players, teams, coaches, their opinion doesn't matter.
Was this even a legitimate Worlds win?
Duo King and Tyler 1 on the same team might save League of Legends.
Okay.
Not sure about that one. Hey everyone, Celeste. I have been an esports figure for just over 2 decades across a multitude of different titles that include RTS, trading card games, and obviously MOBAs. And today I'm surrounded by 20 Redditors.
I've been prepping this like for 3 days.
3
Hi, my
days.
name's Ann.
Okay, let's see what this
and
take
my
is.
take is that I think the 2021 through 2024 T1 roster has done irreparable damage.
Okay.
Oh my god, that is a hot take. Let me think here. I mean, okay, the biggest argument I could see for this is the K-popification of esports and I guess just that. Let's see what he has to say though. That's the biggest thing I can imagine.
Okay. Wait, this is a fucking banger off top. Like, come on, bro. Come on.
I mean, Dom hates T1,
I
so...
love that take. It has done irreparable damage to esports and society in general, and just human beings, and our evolution and our history is going to be altered by the Zio FGK roster. Holy, what a base take!
The way that we view esports.
Yes.
And I just say this because of the narratives that come out about this team. This team is incredibly successful, right? 2 worlds, several finals, right? But I think that the narratives around this team are like way out of control. I think that shifts the way a lot of League fans view the game. For instance, this most recent year when they won Worlds and they beat BLG, they beat Genji, suddenly they're team of the year, even though they didn't win, either of their domestic splits. They didn't win MSI. They won 1 tournament and suddenly they're team of the year.
Bro,
I think the team of the year argument is definitely fair. I think people just focus on worlds, which, like, the hard part is that you have people that care so much about worlds that worlds is everything, and then you have people that are like, guys, let's look at the whole year, and they're both kind of right in the sense that worlds is the most important tournament, but it's also not everything. And for me, it's always been something frustrating when people have a lot of criticism for Chovy. And to this day, I think if I say Chovy is the best player in the world, and Chovy is like by far, you can say he's not right now because Genji is like struggling, whatever. But when people then tell me, oh, but he choked at Worlds, or oh, it's like this at Worlds, this at Worlds, that's not how it, like, for me at least, that's not how it works. I view the best player in the world by watching them play consistently. Like, how well you play over the course of the year is if you were the best player that year, you know? So it can't just be because you had one bad moment, even though it's an important moment, that makes you not the best player.
Is this me? Is this guy me?
I think that's really disingenuous to all the other teams throughout the year.
Yes. T1 ruined esports. Wait, what is he going to say about this?
I would have to ask you, like, how do you think it does irreparable damage? Because T1 is literally carrying viewership.
Yeah, I'm also a bit confused about that part. Like, I can see the T1 shouldn't have won Team of the Year, and T1 is like T1 fans are annoying, but I don't see how it's irreparable damage.
So
Every single tournament.
No,
One,
yeah.
like, so HLE, Gen G just had a series, and yet T1 versus HLE, which apparently should not be the finals, had more viewers.
Because long term, because of how the narrative goes with T1, long term people are saying, oh, well, the only thing that matters is Worlds. So now every other...
That's a good argument. That's a good argument that I hadn't thought of, actually. That's true. If by T1 only winning Worlds, and then all the T1 fans says only Worlds matters, that does mean that all the other tournaments are damaged, you know? Like, people care about them less. That's a good argument. That's a very good argument.
Like, shat on. So 90% of the year, it's like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Oh, T1 lost MSI. Oh, they lost in spring. Like, Gen G won spring. Oh, they lost in winter. It doesn't matter. They lost EWC. It doesn't really matter. Like, everyone is just saying, oh, only Worlds matters because that's the only time where T1 has been successful. And that's kind of the opinion that people have had. And it devalues the rest of the year. And then also, I just think that the culture of T1 fans is to be like extremely ridiculous and extremely loud and extremely annoying, and to essentially make you feel like you're not valuable or something. If you're not a T1 fan, it's like something's fucked up with you. If you go and you read social media, if there's ever something where like somebody is critical of any aspect of T1, it is always like met with the most ridiculous resentment. When I generally see like the culture that we're in right now, it feels like we're moving away from a sports culture, like a culture where people are interested in teams, to a K-pop culture, which is going to eventually be gone because of the fact that these players are going to at some point retire and they're no longer going to be playing. And then instead of it being based off, oh, we love the sport, we love the competition, it's based off, oh, we really like these people as people.
Riot is obviously very happy when they're there. So we're saying that they deal irreparable damage as they're one of the things that keeps boats afloat, and single-handedly carrying LCK's average viewership as one team versus 9. That's crazy.
Yeah, I do think that it's hard to say that T1 is done, because like the question is then, if we didn't have T1, would esports be in a better place? And I think the answer is unequivocally no, right? If we didn't have Faker, esports would be in a worse place. If we didn't have T1, esports would be in a worse place. So I get where he's coming from, and I think it's a bit of a hot take to be hot. And I agree with parts of it, but it's just not true. That is like, I don't think it's done more harm than good.
So there's that. The other thing that I would say is that I don't...
But when Faker is gone, yeah, but it's like, would you then rather never have a GOAT because you're eventually going to lose that GOAT? I don't think so, no? You'd rather have the GOAT.
I think people realize that Worlds, the reason that Worlds is so impressive as a tournament win is because when all teams in the world are brought there in unison, it's essentially bringing everyone to a deserted island, putting them on the island and forcing them to do X task. And throughout the time that they're all there, they're refining it harder and better than they're ever
It's a crazy analogy. I want to see where he goes here.
going to do outside of that island. And because of that, they're able to do things.
I actually completely disagree with this. I think that teams become much better at the game in the East. I think that this is maybe true for Western teams because they get a higher level of competition. But I think that teams become much better in the East with their training regimens because they already have the best teams in the world. And they're practicing more than they do at Worlds. You got to remember, like Worlds, it's not that easy to practice for a lot of teams because a lot of the teams now, they fly in pretty late and they play on a lot of days, right? So a lot of teams are not scrimming on days where they play and there's not that much time to improve at the game as opposed to perma-band-aid all your issues to try to just get the best results the quickest in a new patch, in a new meta. So I actually think that the level of play that we see in, for example, like LCK Summer Finals, or like last year, I think one of the best series the entire year, one of the highest levels of League of Legends that we saw the entire year was LCK Spring Finals between Gen G and T1. I think that was a significantly better series if you just go from like a purist League of Legends standpoint than the semifinals that they played against each other. If you wanted to go through like individual mistakes and like random deaths and just like inaccuracies in fights, I think that those games at Worlds were significantly worse. I mean, just think about what ended up happening at Worlds. You had like the Pays Ziggs game 1. You had that final fight where it starts with Faker just getting caught, and then you end up having Pays walk forward into a Skarner ult. He ends up dying. You had the fucking Maokai game from Lahens. Like, you didn't have where he just like ran it down, right? That's all in one series. You didn't have the level of tension when it comes to the game itself. The drama comes from everything else when it gets to work.
I mean, I think it's fair. I think, though, even like two things I think is one, since Worlds is the most important, and like I do kind of agree with LS's take of like the deserted island in the sense that you have the patch that you're playing on and the meta develops around that patch, and that's like how well can you play that meta is a huge part of it. If we look at DRX, for example, so much of the reason they won Worlds in 2022 was because they found the perfect meta read for them, right? Beryl was able to play his funny champs every single game. Deft was always in a comfortable matchup. Seka and Kingen were completely unleashed, and just everything just worked for them with that meta. So I think that how the meta is in the tournament is huge, and how the team adapts to the meta is a really big part of it. And that part I kind of agree with the desert analogy. I do think that oftentimes regular season, do I agree regular season quality of play is higher than Worlds? I haven't actually thought about it that much and tried to like do comparisons. I could see it being the case, but then I kind of come back to this question of like, does it matter, you know? Because if you are better in your own region, in finals, for example, and you win your own region, but then you play worse at Worlds, Worlds is still the most important thing. So it's the one that you need to be better for.
Worlds, like when it gets to Worlds, because of the increase in the inaccuracies of gameplay, it becomes more hype to watch because it feels like, oh my god, anyone can win. You know,
and same
like,
with MSI, right?
A worse team can beat a better team because the teams are not playing at that extremely precise level that they play at during the year when they are training.
And
day
it's
in,
also
day out.
like,
so actually,
it's also a skill in and of itself, because as a player, I don't know how it is as a Korean or Chinese player. I can just speak as a European player. But by far, the most important thing is Worlds, MSI, Internationals. That's what everybody cares the most about. Of course, you want to win LEC. Everybody wants to win LEC. But if you asked any player, would you choose to win LEC over Worlds or MSI? None of them would say yes. All of them would rather win Worlds or MSI. And I think it's the same for Koreans and Chinese. So it is important to note that like for the players, it is also more important.
Completely disagree with this. I would like to like hear the arguments as to why teams like Gen G and T1, you know, and BLG, these teams that scrim against each other in Asia, would get better from scrimming like the other best teams in the world that are actually not the best teams in the world, right? Like, why does G2 and TL, FlyQuest, these teams being at this World Championship and scrimming them like 1 or 2 times improve the quality of the performance of the top teams as opposed to when they are scrimming each other more often?
That normally they're not going to do when they're not having that kind of rigorous pressure, training, environment, etc. that's provided by Worlds. So to win the World Championship is impressive in itself because it means the 5 players, when things are the most intense, they show up more than any of the other 5 players.
I do agree with the most intense. I think that's important to know.
Even though, yes, I do think that like Gen G, 300 days out of the year is going to best them in a
360 days of the year. Gen G's an ally. Honestly, it was like Gen G was an ally in taking down T1 364 days of the year. And it's just on that day they lost to T1. And, you know, some people will say that you can't be an ally only 364 days of the year. You either are or you aren't.
in a best of
Some
series.
people would say.
But I do think that there's something impressive and fascinating
love them, bro.
about that particular 5's ability to show up at that island tournament.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think that it's just the way that a lot of fans view it, right?
Sure.
Like in 2022, when DRX won Worlds, none of the same conversations were being had. No one said that DRX.
Well, actually, LCK was completely delusional, and they had Zika as the LCK player of the year. So, or maybe it was mid of the year. I forget what it was, but Zika won some award being the best X of the year. I think it was LCK Player of the Year in 2022. So yeah, we had that peak delusion discussion back then, and I fought the narratives, and I lost. You know, all these I have lost all these battles that I fought.
Oh yeah,
I remember-
Seka got mid of the year, right? But what did DRX get that year? They didn't get team of the year, did they? I read your title and I was watching Cato yesterday, and also when he shut down his stream. I do not care about co-streamers. I only watch Cato because main LEC, LCK streamers are so boring and casters are boring. Okay. Should I react to it?
for the battle, I'm like, Zika is not the player of the year, and it was just like they hated him because he told the truth. Like it was that type of thing where everyone was just like, Dom, you're just so fucking jealous that he like won worlds. Like
one thing I don't understand is like if you like watching Kadril, like watch LEC, then don't you kind of like LEC? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why it feels like you have to choose between either liking Kadril or liking the main broadcast. Either way, you're watching the main broadcast. So if you enjoy watching Kadril watch LEC, or at least me personally, I wouldn't enjoy watching Kadril watch LEC if I didn't like watching LEC. You know what I mean? Because I would only want to, like, for example, this video. I wouldn't want to watch Dom react to a video that I didn't care about, right? I'm watching Dom react to this video because I'm interested in this video.
Of course, if you win worlds, then you're the best player at the best tournament. How does that not make you the best player of the year, since everyone knows that that's the most important tournament of the year? It's like, okay, man. Well, if that's your logic and you just want to disregard 95% of the games that are played, that's all you, bro. That's all you, big dog.
Was team of the year or whatnot, right? But suddenly, because it's T1 in 2024, T1 has to be team of the year. Faker has to be player of the year. I think that's a little bit disingenuous. The year before that, JDG lost one best of 5.
Have you seen Counter-Strike casters use someone is Anders Bloom? Look at how he makes you want to become a pro player and make you so hyped up. I watched some of the CS casters. They're really good. I really like Machine. I thought he was very good. And some of like the most hype CS moments, oof, they're fucking good. Goosebumps.
The entire year. They lost to T1 in semis, right? And no one ever talks about that team as one of the greatest rosters of all time, even though they won everything.
And Monty and like Thornton and people, yeah.
That wasn't Worlds.
We lose
right?
those fights.
So that's on the point about, you know, how impressive Worlds is. Because yes, I do admit that this T1 team is very impressive in their Worlds performances, but elsewhere they haven't been able to perform. But I think that the way that conversations are had about
I do think CS is a better game to cast in the sense that it's like a better game to cast in the hype sense, but League is a better game to like break down because there's a lot of things happening on screen. So
that T1 team
and the League has more downtime.
Disingenuous. And as for the viewership point, I do agree. I know so many people who only tune in because it's T1, but I think that doesn't create a healthy environment because we have this narrative around, okay, now is Riot patching around T1? I'm not saying they are, right? But the fact that this conversation has to be had, or that conversation is even brought up, I think...
Is that a real thing? But okay, that's a meme, no? Like, it's not an actual conversation that people think Riot is patching the game for T1. Do people think that? I have only heard that as a meme. I haven't heard anybody seriously having that conversation.
Does damage the esport in terms of competitive just optics. Like if you look at patch 14.16, 14.17, 18, right?
Bro, this guy remembers all those patches. I remember all those patches too. So these are the ones that incorporated all the nerfs to the things that had been played for like pretty much the entire split, which sometimes happens, you know, but it just felt so weird because Genji is being tested on something the entire year. They're exceeding, and then everything that they're playing is just like nerfed systematically. It's not like, oh, this
I mean, I think this is a bit too conspiratorial for me. I think it's just usually, I mean, Riot just wants to spice things up for Worlds and have a different meta, and they usually just nerf what's good, and the best team in the world is probably just gonna play what's good. So
stuff is kind of viable. It's like, no, we're making sure that ADs like essentially cannot go mid. In the game 4 of Genji versus T1, Chovy was playing his Tristana, bro. He's playing his nerf.
Okay, but the ADCs on mid, that they removed the ADCs on mid, was because everybody was complaining about ADCs on mid. There were so many people that hated the fact that ADCs were being played mid. So that one I think is not really like it made sense that Riot removed ADCs from mid. Like I remember I was playing competitively at the time. I was playing tier 2, but still, like I remember Certus was playing, like every game was Tristana versus Corki mid, and then they eventually like they reworked Corki, they reworked Tristana. I think they didn't rework them at first though. They just nerfed them to get them out, and then eventually they reworked both to try to get them back on bot lane. I like co-streamers more because there's more formalities during the speech and during downtime. I like when there's nothing happening between games. Jack can review the game deeply, but also play a Lodal or talk about something non-league related. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with liking co-streamers. Liking co-streamers makes sense. You're just getting the broadcast plus something else. But that's what I mean. You like watching Janko, you like watching the broadcast and Jankos react to it and do whatever he wants to do. You're getting just a bonus. That's a good thing. But what I mean is that you don't need to then decide that the like, because you choose to watch Jankos, it feels like it becomes this like tribalism thing where it's like, because you choose to watch Jankos, you now have to say that the everything else is bad. Like the other co-streamers are bad or the main broadcast is bad. And it's like, no, it's just you like that more.
Like,
both can be good. Yeah, it's not binary. It's
They're
just what you
nerfing
like
all the
more.
80
It's
carry mids
preference.
that Faker was notoriously bad at, and they're buffing Ahri, Azir.
Oriana.
They're buffing Oriana. They're buffing
2023,
these
yeah.
control mages. I think that it's better to build a more, I guess, loyal fan base to League of Legends esports in general than just T1 fans. I think T1 fans, while they are carrying a lot of esports sales and viewership, merchandise, I think that in order for League of Legends esports to be sustainable, we need to promote other teams. We need better storylines out there besides just the T1 storyline. And I think that's why this team's done damage to the esports scene because like
That's a weird way of thinking. This guy or me?
there's someone like me who's
Bro, what a fucking like, bro. This guy is like a real one. This guy watches some fucking league. This guy watches some fucking league. I fuck with this guy.
fan of the LPL and just watching
The
these
fuck
last
this guy is. Yeah, this guy is actually like so unfathomably based.
Like having a preference is that a bad thing? Like one doesn't mean you don't like the other, it's just a preference. Yeah, it's just in the whole co-streamer debate. I've seen a lot of people that seem to have this idea of like, you need to trash one or the other. Either Caedrel is the enemy or the broadcast is the enemy. Like either Caedrel is ruining esports and blah, 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 or the broadcast is the worst thing ever, blah, blah, blah.
and watching how the meta completely shifts towards T1
It's because you asked, don't you like the main broadcast? If you like co-streams, the short and honest answer is no. I don't agree though. I don't think so. I don't think you can hold that opinion. You're watching React content. Why are you watching someone react to something you don't like? For me, at least, I have a really hard time imagining that to actually be true.
Worlds, it does hurt a little bit and it does feel a little bit bad to watch this team.
And I don't mean that you like every part of the main broadcast, but you care about the games, for example, right?
And it's like, oh, but
Yeah, what about
now
everything
what?
else?
Like, was this even a legitimate Worlds win? I mean, it is, but it just feels bad as a fan.
On that point, I mean, you keep blaming the team, but it's not the team's fault. Like they can't.
Oh, it is the team's fault. It's 100% the team's fault. It's like all the teams that have these types of fan bases.
Like, if you don't care about LEC, and you don't care about the games, and you don't care about the casters, you don't care about anything regarding the LEC, I guess if you still choose to watch Caedrel reacting to that, then I guess you're just, I don't know, I guess your brain is different than mine. I would never, for me, the appeal of Caedrel is that he brings something additional to something that I am already interested in watching, right? Like if Caedrel is watching something that I'm interested in watching, I will watch him watch that. Makes sense. If I wasn't interested in watching that and I didn't want to watch that, like if Caedrel is streaming some fucking, I don't know, something random that I really don't care about, that I'm not interested in, then I would not watch him, even if I think Caedrel is entertaining.
Teams cater towards the fucking crazy people. They cater towards the crazy people. They do things to lift these teams up. I mean, even just think about like their slogan, T1 is where the best belong. It's just like such like the whole vibe of it is just this like mega elitist thing, and it makes people feel like if they're a fan of T1, they're better than everyone else. And then you go on social
Okay, but T1 is where the best belong. That goes hard as a line, no? Like,
media, and then they act like they're better than everyone else. Like it just is what it is.
I think that's a pretty hard like line, to be honest. I mean, especially when you win worlds like Perma, T1 is where the best belong, and then you have Faker as well. It's a good marketing line. Like
It is literally the organization's fault. It is top down.
Control how casters, personalities, streamers, tweeters, anyone reacts to their wins. So it has nothing to do with the team. It's not their fault that they're winning or that they're doing
Not
anything
the
that they're
team, the organization.
doing. And I would agree with you that
Okay, I'm not condoning the T1 fan base. Don't get me twisted. I just think that line goes kind of hard, and it's a good it goes hard.
the other storylines and stuff should get built up. The problem is there's not enough people with gravity that can build up such storylines. I would argue that one of the
Are
last
you with
storylines.
or against co-streaming? I don't think there's a side, but I suppose I'm with co-streaming. I think co-streaming is good. Like, I think React content is the meta these days. I think most people, they want to watch people react to the content they want to watch. We're literally reacting to a reaction right now.
Came out of SDK is the Church of Chobi. I'm not there anymore. To make a lot of people mad on Twitter, or during the broadcast, to get people upset enough to tune in to hate on me or to go to my Twitter to hate on me. And both of which are good in broadcasting, because it's better to have someone hate you or love you than to just be apathetic.
Yeah,
True. The worst thing is if people don't say anything about you. That's the worst thing. People should hate or love you.
it is true. I mean, the indifference is the worst thing. I mean, to be honest, bro, hey, that's one part of streaming I fucking nailed.
Because in order to either hate or love, they must tune in. I would
People
point
have
out
a fucking opinion on me. They tell me to my face.
that there's other people like Cadrol who have promoted like Zeus or the Shy. Casters have to do this, but the problem is that the broadcast over the last couple of years has begun losing power to the co-streamers, and so it's on the co-streamers and stuff to raise up people, which is why I used to always have guests on the stream, because I thought it was really important for pro players to build their brand.
Like Monkey. You need somebody to be an OMG and a Monkey fan. Honestly, that stuff did do work, bro. There was a lot of OMG fans.
Exposure to
They
fans.
saw what I saw. If you can explain your fandom to your community, to your viewer base, it does work.
And raise themselves up so they can have longevity in esports, because I've been around 21
I think this is the most measured I've seen LS in a discussion ever.
years, and I would like to provide platforms for pros to try to build their own brands. So why I was always pushing people to tweet, actively engage and stuff, but you can't get them to do that. And that's not the broadcast's fault necessarily, so circling back to T1, it's not good.
I just want to say, I don't think it's T1's fault necessarily. I'm just saying that this team has done that damage, and it's not because they're not trying to damage esports. I don't think that Faker goes out there and he's like,
Oh, I think Joe Marsh actively is trying to damage esports. I don't think that he's damaging esports for fun. I just think that if the trade-off is between long-term damage to esports and making money, he's choosing, or it's on the same side. If he can do damage to esports while simultaneously make money, as opposed to build something healthy and not make money, he's making money and trying to fucking milk this esports shit until this shit is gone, and then he'll just return to whatever he was doing within Comcast. That's what I think is happening.
I'm gonna kill viewership by just
God
only
damn,
having
Dom
fans.
is a
with me.
fucking hater.
And he leaves.
No, absolutely. Oh no, trust me. My girlfriend only watches T1 games, so I completely understand. And
Bro, imagine his girlfriend only watches T1 games, and his opinion is that T1 has done irreparable damage to esports. Bro, that relationship, they are breaking up ASAP. What?
in order to kind of right
True,
the
and he
ship,
has a BLG shirt.
I would say we need to have, like you said, more genuine conversations and more narratives built around not just this T1 team. Oh, they're the whole T1 is an inevitable gimmick. It's gonna once they lose, I think it loses its its power.
The issue with that is that the mass majority of people in the scene, regardless of what they show you as public facing, are not. They don't care about, nor are they incentivized to care about the longevity of others. They would rather others stay down or are kept down or pushed down, so that they can reap the rewards of whatever benefit the scene offers. So when you have stuff like this happening, yes, the scene will cannibalize itself.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, I'm Arsh. My take is that Iron Man drafting
Wait, is this Arsh Goyle?
is worse than Fearless for competitive play. With
Iron Man drafting is worse than Fear. I actually have this take as well. I don't think that the roster of champions just
Iron Man draft format will be worse than Fearless in competitive play. So Iron Man is, what's the difference? Is that what's the difference? That bans carry over as well?
Iron Man drafting
Wait, is this Arsh Goyle?
is worse than Fearless for competitive play. With
Stacking bans and they stay. So you end up with, in game number 5, 40 champions are out.
Iron Man drafting is worse than fear. I actually have this take as well. I don't think that the
Sounds a bit too much, maybe. Yeah.
roster of champions justifies.
Game 5, there's 80 champions out. Oh yeah, because it's 40 per team. Yeah, that's a lot of champions out. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that
Iron Man
too
drafting,
strong.
and I don't really want to see a game where you're in a game 5 and there's actually just like nothing left to fucking pick. Like you're like, yep, I guess we're going fucking Quinn 80 carry for this one, and then it's like it's so far away from what you practice. I mean, just think about what practice would be if you
Yeah,
were
that's
moving
true.
all the champions and all the bans. It is crazy.
Iron Man, which is your idea where you ban the bans
Why is it
from
named
each
Iron
game as
Man?
well.
Yeah.
So far,
No
I'm on the
idea.
Redditor side with this.
I think the primary goal of competitive play for Riot, and I think the draw that I've
I think
seen among my
people,
friends,
okay, look, I think people want to see variety of the champions that are picked, but I don't think they want to go to the
don't want
extent
Teemo
of,
top.
like, we're not going to get to see players play even the role that they're good at anymore. It's like, we have a game 5, all the fucking 80 carries are out, and suddenly we have Pays playing fucking, like, Seraphine bot lane, like, essentially one-tricking. I don't think
Yeah.
that, I think people still want to see somewhat of the skill set that the players have. So yeah,
I
what
think
Iron Man
Fearless is a
drafting
good middle ground.
is that it's not just the champions that are picked that are banned, it's all the bans carry over, right? So after game 1, you'd have 20 champions out. So you go into game 5, you'd have 80 champions out. Now, the problem is that a big part about drafting is when you get into like 4-5s, right? If you drop 80 carry, drop support, when you go into 4-5s, you are going to be generally targeting one of the roles.
I do think
order
an Iron
to-
Man tournament would be fun though. Like a kind of more for fun tournament. Maybe make first stand Iron Man. That could be fun.
maximize either the pick that
I
you're
gotta
going to
be
get
down
on
to see it
4
once
or
in
one of
competitive.
your picks that you've already picked, right? So if you start doing this, then 80 carries are going to be fucking gone super early. Like I don't think there's enough 80 carries, right? So you just have to play bot lane as a whole, which means that you'd have to incorporate Karthus and Seraphine and all these types of champions. Which I think like it's not bad on the surface, but I think that then you're just not even looking for like 80 carry players anymore. It's like I want there to be an ability for somebody to pick something unique, but not something that is like completely foreign. That's just what I think.
is when the
That is
games
what they
look
did
most
technically
similar
with Fearless. Yeah, true.
to solo queue as like, you know, most relatable. I think it'd be interesting to watch what happens to ADC players, for example, when you get to like game 4.
The reason we talk about 80 carries with Iron Man is because 80 carries have the smallest amount of available marksmen. Yeah, like just think about, okay, game 1, Varus Yunara are banned, then one guy, then they decide to drop 80 carries because none of the other 80 carries are good. Then you have like Jin, Senna, like MF gets banned, somebody bans Corki. So like first game you're playing like Ezreal or some shit. It's like Ezreal versus Sivir. Then all those champions out. Then the next game you have like Aphelios Jinx out with like probably more 80 carry bans because people want to make sure that like the top tier 80s at that point don't get through. And it's like you get to the point where you're just playing mages in the bot lane, right?
Of Iron Man, and I think you probably have ideas on what they do.
Right.
But I think it would look so different from solo queue. It'd probably be bad for solo queue.
So Iron Man in specific, one of the things that you commented on is that Game 4 and Game 5 would look very different from solo queue, but
The reason why 80 carries champion pools are so limited because there's just less 80 carries on the roster. It's less
I feel
marksmen
like the solo
than
queue
other
argument
classes.
doesn't really matter. What
Or like
matters
less, not than other classes, but less viable marksmen than amount of junglers you can pick.
Any format they make with people find a meta, I don't think Iron Man is the fix. I mean, the big thing is, I felt last year, I felt very adamantly that Riot didn't change the game enough. And then this year, they changed the game more, and they said in a public statement, I think a month ago, that they're intentionally going to change the game less now, because it's a vocal minority, Redditors, Twitter users, high-elo people like me, that want the game to be changed more, while the actual average player does not want the game to be changed so much and is hurt by the game changing too much, which I thought was very interesting, and it puts into perspective sometimes how you feel. But I think, for example, the pro meta gets quite stale, even with Fearless, when there's very little changes.
Because like you have a bunch of junglers that are not good that are still pickable, right? You have champs like Kha'Zix that you can play. You know, like you have a ton of like random shit.
Yeah,
that
jungle
will
top
still
and
be
mid has a
playable in
lot of
jungle.
champs.
And especially with the way they've changed jungle, like almost everything can jungle to some extent. Like even if you banned out everything, you could play Udyr, Morgana, Darius jungle. Like you'd be able to play stuff that would be fine. And
Check
because
out
you're
SK,
not
there are only 6 junglers picked. Really? Alright, let's do... What? LCK All-Stars? Bro, am I tripping? It's not called LCK? Oh, it's just I click this. I'm stupid. It's very concentrated for sure. And Best has 0% win rate. The meta is pretty much the same in every region, I guess. Well, I'm surprised Jace is actually #1. That's crazy. I didn't think Jace was that popular. I think this is a like decently diverse meta though. The only thing that I think is very non-diverse is enchanters on bot lane every game. Like you do see some engage supports, but it's mainly enchanters every game. I guess it's also mainly bruisers on jungle. Yeah, maybe. Not so much Orianna, but she's been banned a lot. Makes sense. Or I have too many tabs open. I have way too many tabs open. Bro, where the fuck was I? Here I am.
Interacting with others directly, it's like easier
Look
also
at the
to
big
get away
hook
with
champs
things.
as
But,
Ravens
yeah, I
and
mean,
plays
there's
enchanters
just not that
bots.
many AD carries.
I mean, people ban Nautilus a lot. You can see it's the 5th most banned. So most of the time, people just ban Nautilus. And then you could go Pike or you could go Blitzcrank. You see that some teams have tried the Pike. Thing with Pike is you get really outscaled. So if you don't kill them level 1, the game is kind of hard. Or you don't get like a good trade level 1. And then Blitzcrank sucks because Blitzcrank level 1 is dog shit. So what ends up happening always with Blitz is like... If we draw bot lane, right? Like, bot lane is like this, right? And you're Blitzcrank, you're Blitz Draven here, okay? What ends up happening if they're playing like Yunara Lulu is that they're actually stronger level 1. Even if they get hooked. If Draven gets 2 axes, Draven is stronger. But if Yunara Lulu goes into 3rd bush, level 1, and then zones Draven off the wave from getting axes, and then Draven doesn't get 2 axes, even if Blitzcrank hits the hook on Lulu or Yunara, you still lose the all-in because Blitzcrank does nothing level 1. That's the biggest weakness of Blitzcrank. So what ends up happening is that now Yunara Lulu are getting push against the Blitzcrank Draven. And the only real way for Blitzcrank Draven to play is by getting jungle to come. Because if we think about what does Blitzcrank do, Blitzcrank hook is very powerful, but up against minions, it's really easy to just sit behind the minions. So that's why if you lose push as Blitzcrank, they just hide behind the minions, because they're the one pushing you, so they have more minions. And then Blitzcrank can never really land a hook unless his jungler is there, because then he can like flash E and go in and stuff. So that's why most teams don't want to play Blitzcrank.
In the game, it is what it is.
Zero retention.
Which people would say would be a good thing. My argument in general is just that you get to a point where like the game becomes a lot worse as a result because of how people are going to have to practice. Like, how do you practice Iron Man drafting, right? You just have to play Iron Man best of 5s, like an Iron Man best of 5, then an Iron Man best of 3. And it would be fine in the best of 3s, but game 5s where you want there to be extreme tension in the game. And this is one of the problems that we're having with Fearless right now. Even Fearless has this problem. When you get to game 5s, you want there to be a lot of tension. When so many champions are removed, a lot of times things are going to be decided by draft. And I don't want draft to decide the game and have a really uncompetitive game.
Yeah, to be honest,
I'd rather
I don't care
have
that
like
much about the stake.
some
I just
tension
disagree. I
in
think,
the game.
yeah, Fearless
And
better.
3
What's
junglers,
the next
etc.
take?
Really like
Acceptable
I'm
speech and voice comms. Sounds kind of boring as well, but let's see what the
very
take
pro
is.
voice comms.
The boundaries of acceptable speech and why right is not implemented.
This game, I think that any competitive game should have voice comms, and yes, there are drawbacks.
This one is hard. I think a League should have voice comms, but I think I would enjoy League less with voice comms. Because I felt this when I played in-houses, and for me, it was really, I much more enjoy not listening to my teammates speak. I would rather just not be forced to speak. I just want to listen to music and play my game. And usually it just felt more uncomfortable to play with people. So I think voice comms makes for a better experience for a lot of people, but I also don't mind that we don't have voice comms so much. We'll see the next take. There's no ceiling on people based on how they did initially. Can anyone go pro? Oh, this sounds interesting.
All right, so I'm going to start with the preface. If for people who aren't aware, I'm going to talk a little about the Gorilla Jones situation.
Sure.
So he said,
Oh, Gorilla Jones. Did you guys remember him? He said he was going to go pro. He was going to go full-time League, and then he played 1 hour of solo queue, went 10 deaths, and then he would play Arena for 4 hours. And then he went back to McDonald's or something like that.
I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go pro. I have what it takes. and you said you're going to fail because you haven't hit the upper echelon in a short enough amount of time. My point is, though, I don't think there's a ceiling on people based on how they did initially. I think the vast majority of League players, especially when they get to pro, have had systems that were sort of introduced to them over.
Wait, he played for Lion Academy? What? But he was like Grandmaster 10 deaths every game.
Time that they actually were able to make it. The vast majority of League players will never be introduced to that.
Sure.
Making a challenger on their own, and they'll have no idea how to actually make that next jump.
The Gorilla Jones thing, the reason that I pushed back as hard as I did is because I understand the industry from marketing, branding, financial perspective, and then a lot of other things. So Gorilla Jones, I think, is 20 turning 21, and he has a desire to go pro, and he struggles to even hold Grandmaster.
I think that him not being able to hold a challenger actually isn't even a prerequisite, given that maybe he's playing, like you said in the earlier chat, he's playing in a specific way that's not conducive to climbing.
Oof, this is always like low take. I'm sorry, but there's no such. He's gonna say something like he's not playing. Let's just hear what I say.
Climbing to challenger consistent.
I mean, the reason why,
Like, okay, don't cut him off, but there's no such thing as like you're not playing to climb or you're not playing the right play style to get challenger or anything like that. You're just not good enough, straight up. You're misplaying lanes, you're playing bad.
I thought Gorilla Jones was going to fail because I just didn't think he was taking it seriously, you know? Like, if you want to do this shit, you don't
I
even...
mean, that as well. He just, like, Gorilla Jones, unironically, like, I'm not kidding. He would play 2 solo queue games. And then he would tweet about how he had a long day. Like, it was
They need
crazy.
to announce that type of stuff. Like, I did the same thing when I wanted to go pro. But the difference is that when I was trying to go pro, I mean, obviously it was a different time period, but it was still competitive. I think people have this notion that it's like, oh, well, no one wanted to be a pro in like season 1, season 2. I think most people, when they heard about like, oh man, you can like, there's $1 million prize pool, that sounded fucking crazy. Like there was a lot of desire back then for people to try to achieve this. When I wanted to go pro, I actually did things that were going to push me forward. But Gorilla Jones is like streaming the way he plays the game. It doesn't feel like there was any actual improvement. It didn't feel like when you watched a stream, there was a real desire for him to get to the next level. Like he would say like, oh, well, today I'm doing...
Like, okay, so for example, for me, chat, I want to show you guys something to highlight his point here.
this. Like, I have this plan, and he would just play like Jason, run it down. It's like, yeah, I just... Even though I'm running down...
I think that's like... I think that helped me a lot, center myself, and I still use documentation like that to this day. Like, I made this, what did I make a few days ago? Like, I made the stream schedule, which helped me like center myself now, and then I made like a content plan for myself. I like to be very organized, and I just have like general goals for 2026 and things that I want to do, like the habits that I want to have this year. I can show you the habits that I want to have this year that I've kept up mostly, but I want to exercise every day, meditate every morning, no sugar, follow my stream schedule, 2 to 3 hours of programming every day, read at least 5 minutes every day, and 30 minutes of art every day. So for me, all those things and having a very structured, regimented life has always been very important. And I think if you want to be good at everything, or not good at everything, good at anything, you need to be really diligent and really, it's about the daily efforts that you put in every single day. You're not going to get good at anything in a day. You're going to get good at it by doing it a little bit every day for an extended period of time. And the best way of doing that is by having a daily habit and goal.
Jace today, you know, I'm learning this like very specific thing, and then I'll be able to apply it. So this is going to be healthy for my growth. Like he just did a bunch of random stuff that clearly wasn't going to work. And then you saw him playing 1 million games of Arena every day. You know, he'd play maybe like 3-5 solo queue games and then play Arena the rest of the day. Just he didn't have the desire to match what his goals were, so of course it was always doomed to fail. I don't think there's anything wrong with attempting to go pro, though. I don't think that it's like if he was a different person with a different mindset, sure, I think that he could potentially go pro, but he never really gave it a chance. You know, it's like he's just setting himself up to fail.
I agree.
Right. He might be playing champs that are not viable. Right. He might be playing in playstyles that he could easily be coached out of. I don't know how much coaching he's received in the past from other coaches as well.
Right.
And then going pro itself is also different when we see players like Surdy, who is at the top of the ladder, struggle in pro too. So environment matters. I think a lot of players maybe could go pro. I guess my main point is that a lot of challenger players could go pro.
Yeah, the audio is so decent.
Really been given that shot and are being told that they can't.
So it's always going to be case by case. My response to Gorilla Jones is not necessarily going to be my response to other players, although I did tell Surdy not to go pro because he was averaging 2,000 CCVs on Twitch. And in modern day, where Twitch is so much more lucrative.
Right? You don't think it's beneficial to do both, though, if you have the option? Like, Surdy's not going to lose what he's doing on Twitch just because he went pro.
So much like Whippo,
He will.
who is one of my closest friends in the scene, Whippo streams every day, and he does stuff. Whippo would not have the first clue about content creation, monetization, and all this other stuff. He's going to delegate it to other people. And even though he can do both, it's no secret that by doing both, his content creation is just significantly worse off than if he was just primarily focused on that. There's very few people that have ever actually
highest
managed
average
to do
for a
both.
month was his peak viewership all time is like 2,800 viewers. So his peak is not even 3,000, and his average viewership was like 7,000. I'll go through his streams, but I'm pretty sure he was never actually averaging 2,000.
Yeah, I don't think Surti was ever that big. No, he was. I remember Surti was was known because of the LP thing, and he was so high LP. But was he ever 2,000? Andy, maybe he was. But what's his viewership now? I kind of want to check. Let's see. Well, I don't want to view shame anybody because I don't have much viewers either. But okay, yeah, it did really go down, I suppose. But it's really hard. It's much harder to maintain an audience, I think, over an extended period of time. Because, like, for example, if you look at me, my audience has come and gone a lot. And when I was at my most hyped, let's see, in 2022, I had like 1K average viewers. And then for some reason, I don't know why, but and when I retired in November 2024, I had like 1K average viewers. But then you also see that it dips like crazy, you know? Like in August, I had 300. In April, I had 200. I took a lot of, like here I streamed 9 hours, you know? So some of these is also just I barely streamed. But viewership is very up and down. Very up and down.
The big what
And it's
if-
really hard. I think like if you try to go pro, then it's really easy to lose that community that you have.
has also
You don't
helped-
stream? That's changing now. 4 streams a week. It's coming, baby. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back on Thursday, and then I'll be gone for a few days again. But then I'll be back.
Many
4 days a
people tune into someone. Nemesis before
Consistent streams are coming. I promise you that. And then after spring, we'll do subathon.
Los Ratones, where a lot of people would say he's one of the best Western players. A lot of people would say that he's not,
like,
etc.
he barely had any
And
streams
you don't
where
get a
he
lot of
even
insight
averaged
into him, and
1,000
those
viewers.
things help bolster string numbers and stuff. My main focal point is always longevity and
just look through
career
here.
decisions that are based in logic, not feeling.
That's fair. Yeah, I think more players who are at that level that could actually
Yeah.
explore both, and I definitely think that going pro could be an avenue to help your content as well. I mean, that should be on the org's end to also help promote, hey, you could do this better.
Right.
Like, we can also give you other assets. You could do content
It's two different
days
fields.
with you, like on stream, stuff like that. So
Right. I don't think teams care. I don't think teams are cutting year after year after year content budgets.
which is also, I think, I mean, it's a whole different topic, but it's a failure on the teams because they could also leverage some of that and be like, hey, we will help promote your streams. We would take a percentage cut of your earnings, but we're going to help you blow up. This is good for all of us.
That would be a good idea for sure for teams to try to incentivize that more. On any team that I've ever been on, I streamed, but it was never incentivized by the team, and they never like supported that very much.
Hi, my name is Nick. Nice to meet you. And my hot take is that I think
Content creation is responsible for the demise of League of
Okay, we
Legends
saw
in
this
North
one.
America.
Okay.
This is a classic Reddit take, bro. This guy is a
let's see
classic
the-
Redditor. It's the co-streamer's fault.
Argument is based off of 2 points. You've kind of already touched on both of them. So the first part, not in the content creators' control, but the monetary difference in value between content creation versus being professional, as you just mentioned. And the second thing is I think the narrative has transitioned from being solely in control of the Riot production team, which has always done a fantastic job of creating narratives, and now it's in the hands of content creators. And I feel
I mean, this is the whole thing is Riot makes still an ungodly amount of money with League of Legends, right? And they're
True.
hungry for more. You know, they're doing EWC and stuff now. Like, they are getting a fucking bag. And Riot made the decision themselves that they would rather allow co-streaming than pay people that are competent enough to be good casters, good analysts, what they would be worth to the broadcast. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, Riot could have not done co-streaming. They could have easily just not given out co-streaming rights. But what Riot should have done then is get the people that are high-level former pro players, like they have in many broadcasts, by the way. I mean, this is what they do in the NBA, right? If you're a good former coach, if you're a respectable former pro player, and you know you have the ability to analyze the game, you have the ability to speak, they will have these people just work on the broadcast and give them a very, very competitive salary. When you look at Riot never wanted to do that. They've always been stingy with that type of stuff. They never saw the real value in what these like co-streamers could bring to the broadcast. And I think that as a result, the broadcast is worse. I think people like listening to people that have played in the games that they are watching. They like hearing the pro player perspective, the inside the game perspective, which you just can't have. As much as you study, you can't have that same perspective from the outside.
I think that's
now
fair,
more
yeah.
than ever, especially when it comes to LTA content, a lot of the narrative around it is very negative and toxic. I guess my point is, when you look at the co-streamers in general and you see like what Caedrel's doing, and Caedrel's doing a great job in terms of, I watched a game where it was two bottom teams in the LEC playing against each other and just highlighting the good positive plays that teams are making, regardless of the overall standings and rank.
Bro, I don't know when this was, but I literally watched Caedrel watch the what was it? It was the BDS versus SK series, and he was like, I'm not gonna say a word until they make a good play, and he was like silent on stream for like 7-8 minutes. I mean, he was talking about how bad the game was the entire time, because that's just honestly what happened. So I don't know.
Of the teams versus like what Dom does, where I saw he posted a video saying the title of the video was 15 years of competitive League of Legends equals this, and he just spent 80% of the time flaming Shopify Rebellion and Dignitas for poor play. Like it's hard to build a brand, especially as a player, and to me it's worked really.
Yeah, I mean, those teams probably played a disgusting game. I think I personally don't think that this blanket positivity is actually good for telling narratives of teams. Like, I think that the best way to discuss things is with honesty, right? I think if you just say everything is great and you muddy those waters.
I agree, but everything is about perspective. A good play is usually always a bad play from the enemy team. You know? So I agree, but I also somewhat disagree, because I find this habit, when I was reviewing the cast with Vedi, I tend to be more negative, and I think I'm a bit too negative. And for example, there was a play, it was Shifters versus SK, so yeah, put in the bar below. Shifters versus SK, Trimby gets chunked out and SK gets Drake. Yoppa was playing Ezreal and he really poked Trimby. And I said, that's a pretty big mistake from Trimby there, getting chunked out. So it means that SK is going to get the Drake, even though Shifters were ahead. Like, Shifters had a 1-kick lead. That is true. But I also could have said, that was a really nice chunk there from Yoppa. He chunked Trimby down. Now, even though Shifters had the gold lead, SK is still going to be able to pick up the Drake. Both of those statements are true, you know? It's not that one is more honest than the other. It's just about perspective. And sometimes you can have either a positive perspective and a negative perspective. Of course, if somebody does the worst play ever, and you take a positive perspective and you pretend that the enemy outplayed them, that's going to feel disingenuous. But also, if you always take the negative perspective, because you can always take the negative perspective, whenever there's an outplay, there's going to be a misplay.
Then, like...
So, I think it's a lot about perspective as well, and balancing those two. So you have some positivity, because I also think if you have mostly positivity, it makes the negativity more impactful, in the sense that people listen and care about it. If I'm always negative, then you will just think of me as the negative guy, and it won't have that impact. While if I'm normally positive, for example, take Vedi. I think Vedius is normally pretty positive, but he had one little crash out when Saren did like a really bad play. And for me, that crash out that he had was really memorable, because Vedius normally never does that. But he thought the play was that bad that he was like, what the hell was he doing? You know?
You end up not being able to even celebrate the top end. It's like, everything is, oh man, these are some really good
He's touching on exactly that, just in the opposite direction. I agree.
plays that Shopify and Dignitas are making. Oh shit, they lost to the same teams they always lost to. Like, damn. That's kind of like, I'm actually down to watch that video on stream and see if like I'm being honest, seeing if like, you know, the plays are actually bad. I think that what people want is the realness of the entire spectrum of play that we have. If you explain all the mistakes that Shopify and Dignitas are making, then you can also explain what, like, you could contrast that really easily to like Genji T1, you know?
Gating any effort by these players, regardless of how good they are, to try to make a brand when there's so much negativity revolving around them.
But you would be saying
That is actually just like the most bullshit thing I've ever heard, because there's no effort from these players to try to make a brand. A long time ago, when people started going into, you know, when the franchise came in and people started getting these big salaries, and there was no reason monetarily to try to make a brand.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. I remember, like, imagine this, chat. You are a player, you are getting paid 1 mil a year on your contract. Would you want to put in a lot of effort to stream and get an extra few thousand a month? No, right? No, it's a waste of time. The whole good play means there's always bad play, and the general chase of perfectionism makes EU much worse than Chinese and Korea. By thinking like that and chasing optimal plays and thinking that when you die you made a mistake, that makes you play overly safe. That's why we're behind them. They don't think that way. They go and fight. They're proactive. They don't ever think, oh wow, we died, so it must be our mistake. Let's play safer next time. Okay, I'm sorry, bro, but that might be the dumbest take I've ever heard in my whole life. Literally, by definition, a good play can only happen if somebody made a mistake. That is how League functions as a game. I cannot make a good play if you don't make a mistake. It's impossible. I cannot. If both of us play perfect League of Legends, then nothing happens. We both just farm. How do I ever chunk you for HP if you never make any sort of mistake? It's impossible, right? What you're saying is true, but it's not practical, it's robotic. That's how ChatGPT would play. Humans play on instincts and mindset. What I'm saying is that every time there is a good play, there is always a mistake that is happening at the same time. If you cannot acknowledge that, then you don't understand what a good play is, and you don't understand what a mistake is.
Making so much off what you're doing, and it would just be like negligible.
And what we're talking about is not how the player views themselves. We're talking about the perception of the audience. And also, if you think Korean and Chinese players are all instinct and they just play aggressive, then you have never watched an LCK game in your life. LCK is literally known for being slow, long games where nothing happens for 40 minutes, and then it's an elder fight that decides the game.
Negligible at that point, what the returns would be. People don't make any efforts to try to make a brand. Like the Shopify versus Dignitas players, like how many of them actually like are out there trying to make a brand, streaming, interacting with the community, doing the stuff that we used to do back in the day when the game was popular?
Dom's viewers and Dom's viewership is directly responsible for the millions that would somehow tune out or phase out of watching, right?
Okay, yeah, LCK Pro play is much slower, but Chinese and Korean solo queue chaos is what create good players. Okay, I don't know if maybe English isn't your native language, and that's why you misunderstood everything I was saying so hard. But I did not say you shouldn't play aggressive in solo queue. You should play aggressive in solo queue. You should try to win lane. You should play aggressive. Yes, you should play aggressive. We agree.
Or that, you know, Cadril is trying to list a lot of positives and highlights. There's a lot of funny data and metrics that go into both.
I'm talking about the general Western
them,
versus
like
Eastern mindset.
Years,
I think you've made that one up, my
their
friend.
Social media numbers, etc., impressions that they
video. I
get,
can't find my own video.
and you can look at all of them versus the main broadcast numbers, and you can start to draw certain things. If the argument is that Cadril is very, very popular and he highlights things even on the bottom teams, then it should dwarf a million times over anything Dom does, just going off numbers. But obviously that's evidently not the case with what's going on. So I feel like it doesn't make sense to use both because it's not the case with what's going on.
Doesn't qualify.
Upset reckless, not get a player there. It's true or something. True. All LEC players, they just play safe and passive. Bro, I don't know what we're saying. Even I don't know what we're like. The whole what you said makes no sense, man. The whole general chase of perfection is what makes EU much worse than Chinese and Korea. Literally, when I think of Korea, and I think everybody can relate to this, is Korea is the chase for perfection. When has EU ever been the chase for perfection, bro? Our best team was G2, who was known to be really inconsistent and play really like off-meta champs and surprise you and be really aggressive. We've never been known as the perfection region. What? This is so...
There's
like
a fact check on what a dwarf
doesn't
is.
make sense to use both because one should almost knock out the other, or like just shine a larger light on something that's positive. So we had to sort of pick and choose what kind of. I feel like it doesn't make sense, but obviously that's.
Wait, what is this? Ellis is claiming that should dwarf, but doesn't. Depends on what qualifies as dwarf. Okay. What is this fact check?
What? What's the fact check? I was saying that K-Roll's viewership compared to Our Dominant should dwarf. Wait, when combination matter, K-Roll tends to outperform Our Dominant when co-streaming lower ranked team matches. 1.8 million viewers versus 136k views for Fur versus Gam. MSI's lowest combined global power ranking match. K-Roll has way more viewers. Bro, K-Roll tends to outperform Aldono in constantly lower ranked matches, and it's like K-Roll just has 10 times his viewership.
Because one should almost knock out the other, or like just shine a larger light on something that's positive. So we had to sort of pick and choose what kind of. I feel like it doesn't make sense, but obviously that's.
Wait, what is this? Ellis is claiming that compared to how Domes should dwarf, but doesn't. Depends on what qualifies as dwarf. Okay. What is this fact check?
Done.
What?
Like, open that tweet, please. What is the tweet? Yeah, I've seen this one. It's so good. Clown region. Macro masterclass. Like a game of chess. It's so fucking true, by the way. Holy.
And now we have like the streamer team with Los Ratones.
I can't imagine either of these guys.
That is obviously driving a lot of stuff, and scrimming against them by proxy helps you, or like get more eyes on you. This happens all the time. You see it, you know, people get into streamers' lobbies, they get more viewers. I didn't necessarily hear what with co-streamers and stuff, because you listed two polar opposite examples. How would that directly be related to the demise of viewership? Whereas my view is, we knew that even in 2020 that the average.
Okay, we need to clear some things up, chat. First of all, truth nuke time. There's no such thing as an aggressive player, there's only bad and good players. Truth nuke. What an aggressive player means is that he sees more opportunities for plays than the bad player, who doesn't see it. If you are passive, it is just a nice way of saying that you are bad. So when you say that G2 is the only aggressive team EU's ever had, it's because it's the only team that we've seen from EU that has been good enough to actually contest the better teams so that they can be aggressive. If you are worse than your opponent, then you will never have an opportunity to show any sort of aggression because you will not be able to capitalize on their mistakes. Aggression is just capitalizing on someone else's mistake. It's just the same thing I said earlier. A good play can only come from someone else's bad play. Now, the fun thing that can happen is some players play more volatile than others, which means they introduce more volatility so that there is more mistakes that can happen in the lane. Players like Jackie Love, players like Uzi, players like The Shy, right? These players play incredibly volatile and have incredibly high peaks and incredibly high lows due to the volatility of their gameplay, which means that there's a lot more mistakes happening on both sides of the lane. That's important. But it's not true that, for example, people think of like Chovy and it's like, oh, he's passive or he just farms. No, there's no such thing as that. That would just be a bad player. That's what that is.
Average viewer of LCS at the time, LTA now, was over the age of 21. And we know this because...
Watch this. It's going to be the worst thing I've ever seen.
Walking up towards Cream, getting a
Bro,
good trade
dude,
there too.
we're literally a minute and 30 seconds into LPL. Why are we like we're trying to fight the guy behind this tier 1 turret, level 1, as LeBlanc versus Zero? What the f is going on?
Likely going to be an AD LeBlanc, even though we haven't kind of
Okay.
extra avenue outside of that. That changes the way that some mid laners end up going back as well. And you can see that immediately. Knights walking up towards Cream, getting a
Bro,
good trade
dude,
there too.
we're literally a minute and 30 seconds into LPL. Why are we like we're
Okay, so here, good play by Knight. I don't know what info he had, but he knows that Cream is rotating, and he knows that he's stronger in the 1v1. So he catches him off. And then Knight, like Cream made the mistake of, I don't know what, he was hovering his bot lane or something. Maybe he wanted to go for, just hover his bot lane because of Ash virus. I don't know. And then you have a good trade, and then after that, now mid lane is won because Cream got really chunked, right? So now Knight will play really aggro,
as LeBlanc versus Zero. What the f is going on?
and Cream makes another mistake here. Cream is trolling, right? What Cream is thinking here is he wants to walk up, do an auto attack with the soldier, get fleet, and back off. But he doesn't get the auto in time before Knight can match it. Knight gets fleet proc as well, so Knight is able to run him down and get 3 autos for the same. Because Cream
This
cannot
tier one
continue
turret
trading back because Cream is half
At
HP.
level 1 as LeBlanc
Knight
versus
with
Zero.
that
What the
fleet
f
means
is
that
going
this
on?
likely going to be an AD LeBlanc, even though we haven't seen as much of it on the hotfix patch.
No.
And now you can see Cream is trying to space Knight.
So painful right now for Cream.
Like,
and
what
we
the
talked
hell,
about how
man?
We wanted to see how he would do in this match.
And level 1 here. This is like, but this is not about LPL, by the way. This was the meta. You are playing, like, you are showing me the most volatile, insane matchups ever. This is AD LeBlanc, double Halo Blades Ash Varus, Kalista Nautilus. Like, of course, how these champions function
these
is you
guys
need
stop
to
being
fight
so
level
aggressive?
1. Like, Ash Varus is literally, this was a classic you did. Yes, that's how they play the game. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're completely wrong. If you type one more stupid comment, you might be getting banned. This is, if you watch Ash Varus always looks to do something level 1 because they were the strongest bot
The
lane
hell,
level
man?
1 in the game,
How he would
alongside
do in this
Kalista Varus.
matchup, it's just kind of difficult.
Can these guys
Why do you think they do this? Do you think maybe this Ashe and Varus are doing this play because they're stronger level 1? Or do you think they do it because they are Chinese, so they must play aggressive? I wonder which one. Maybe it's because they use their brains and they understand the game. And that's what allows them to play aggressive, because you need an understanding of the game to be able to play aggressive. You need to know that you're stronger to be able to assert your strength. If you don't know, then you're not going to be able to execute on the play. How do they understand the game? That's the deeper question.
stop being
I mean, for sure, you need to be willing to like limit test and try out things and have an open mind. That's important. But I don't think that's what's holding us back in Europe.
One, Riot had the data, and then two,
and they publicized it because they had a Bud Light sponsorship at the time, and they wanted to justify the Bud Light sponsorship by saying, hey guys, we don't have a child audience, that's why we're willing to have an alcohol sponsor.
Bud Light was a sponsor. Now everyone is going to be 27, 28. People just don't want to tune in to watch kids much younger than them play video games anymore. People don't want to tune into the same repetitive matches being played, which was why I pushed against or pushed for Fearless, Iron Man, etc.
Why do all EU players come back from Korea saying these guys don't play macro, they play so stupid and crazy? But that's not necessarily a good thing. In Korea, people care less about the outcome of a game. That much was really, really clear to me when I played in Korea. Because people will just flip the game level 1. People will FF immediately. People will give up in minute 5. Do you think that's good? I don't think that's good. I think it's good to play aggressive. And it's good to try to win your lane no matter what. But, like, we just need to... critical thinking, guys. That's what we need to continue to maintain at all times. Because it's not like they just figured it out. Like, what's important to note is that Korean solo queue could be way better. It could be insane. It has the pieces to be there, but it is not. It is probably still the best in the world, but it could be way better. You can still be the best in the world, but still be way better.
I think there's a lot more that's...
They care more about improvement, less about winning, thus reaping the long-term benefits. I don't think that's the case. It comes from what's more, it's you're thinking too narrow-mindedly here. It's the reason games are shorter in Korea is because a lot of, one, it's become the standard, but it started out as well that people were playing gaming cafes, you pay by the hour, so if a game looks like shit, you just FF that game really fast. And then that also then leads to you caring less about the game in and of itself. But in a way, you then also waste more time because somebody just flips the game and then starts running it down. EU-West is macro and trying to have a perfect KDA and analyzing drafts and builds. Like solo queue? That's the solo queue? You think EU-West solo queue is macro and trying to have perfect KDA and analyzing drafts and builds? In what elo? We literally have one of our most famous player is the Baus, who's known for dying. I don't think we're known for the perfect KDA, bro. You understand there's always a tug of war between learning and winning, right? You must sacrifice some for the other. No. Why can I not win and learn?
Going on that doesn't have to do with.
If I play my best every single game, then I learn much more from that than if I fucking flip the game and run it the fuck down, no? If I completely int the game and go 0-10, or I try my absolute hardest to win a game, and it's a super close game and I win in 30 minutes, which one did I learn more from? What do you guys think?
Co-streaming. I think if you remove all the co-streamers right now in the world,
flipping does not equal limit testing. Okay, Joker, have you ever played in Korea solo queue? Have you ever played? Because I can tell you a lot of those people were flipping, bro. They were flipping it like Burgit, bro. Watch come I usually play solo queue? I don't need to, bro. I played in Korea solo queue. I got challenger there.
That everything returns to the broadcast. I think a fraction would return.
With the implementation of co-streaming and the reliance.
You guys are just, I think it's a rage bait deluxe right now from this duo here. It's just a rage bait deluxe from the duo. Sorry, it's not you guys. It's just rage bait deluxe. Korea solo queue is better. It's more aggressive. And the mechanics are better, and that's a lot due to the ping as well. The ping is really, really noticeable. When I played there, I felt the ping felt so much better. And I think that makes everybody have better mechanics. And I think that's the number one thing that I'd really focus on, to be honest, other than anything. And then I think the players there are way worse mentally. I think really a lot of really bad people that are just terrible people that just want to run you down, ruin the game, which I think is not good. I think you can have good mechanics without having people grief the game and be terrible people.
Of Riot and the LTA into co-streaming being the main source of viewership. Sure, while there's a lot of positives, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think
it's not rage bait. I'm certain that getting your hands dirty and just experimenting is the best way to learn in every and all fields. If you just care about writing the best, most readable code instead of getting some workflows, you will stagnate and load and unquickable. I mean, yeah, you should experiment. This goes back to what I said. You should play aggressive, and you should try to punish the opponent as much as you can. If you play the most aggressive you can every game and try to punish the opponent as much as you can every game, you will learn faster. That's literally what I recommend. That's what you should do. This is not a Korean thing. This is not an EUS thing. Everybody does this. It goes back to the same thing that we talked about earlier, that there's no such thing as aggression. It's just bad and good. The better player is more aggressive because he sees you make more mistake and he's able to capitalize on more of those mistakes. The day you stop experimenting, we call this limit testing in laws, the day you stop learning forever. Well, that's stupid as well, because there's not, like, even if you stopped learning mechanics, well, it's like, oh my god, it just doesn't make any sense. If you think about it. You play a team fight, you don't limit test the team fight. You can still watch that team fight back and then think to yourself, how could I have played that team fight better? You can still learn from that. Oh, it's just rage bait.
Hater really watches the LTA very often.
No, he does playoffs.
Exactly.
If I want to contact you, which email should I use? The one on YouTube or this one on Twitch? Jackspektra@gmail.com.
I watch his streams and he does a great job in terms of promoting that. In NA,
once we get ChatGPT players, we can prompt them to analyze every play like Jackspektra, but the reality is humans play by having a mindset, and that mindset leads you. Of course, you still think, but it's not analyzing every single step. Yeah, the mindset is you try to fucking punish the opponent every single time you can. Do you think playing to the limit will help, even though it means you might die quite a lot as an ADC? What depends. I think I always try to caveat this as well, because there's always, when I've coached people, there's always been, people are always on the spectrum a bit when it comes to either they try to punish way too much mistakes and they don't fully understand what those mistakes are, so they just fucking kill themselves and they need to relax a bit more. and take a breather to actually let the opponent make the mistake. Thank you very much, Habitator, for the 17 months. Hope you're doing well. And then you have the other people that are really, really passive, and I need to tell them, like, bro, enemy is clicking in your face. Why are you not clicking back? You need to be punishing their mistakes more. You need to be clicking more forward.
There's not really that gap. Double F.
Maybe you should ignore these
Those opinions are starting to resonate more. And as those opinions resonate more, any attempt, because I saw a stream where you mentioned that you feel like the modern LTA is full of mannequins. It's full of people who there are just no storylines that they can base. There's nothing there's nothing interesting. Yes, exactly. And my point is that ever since there was a separation of Riot being solely in control of the production value where those storylines are created, that once that shifted to the streamers who had the responsibility to promote those storylines, they haven't done it, and it's done the reverse opposite effect, actually.
Right. Actually, that's I completely disagree. I think this is complete bullshit that this guy is saying right now. Like, a lot of the storylines that were coming out of LTA and LEC were through content creators and their interactions with players. Like, the fact that I hosted a podcast for years called The Crackdown and invited so many pro players and had players that were about to compete against each other tell their entire careers and then explain why they didn't like a certain player, or like really be able to get that side out of them, was one of the things that actually was so important to the broadcast. So the broadcast stole it without giving me credit, obviously, put it on the broadcast, and they were using that as, oh, this is something that you should get hyped about during the match. So I feel like I've done actually a ton of promoting storylines within the league. It's not that we like it's so weird to pin this on co-streamers not telling enough of the storylines, because I exclusively like try to do that. I mean, I guess I can't say exclusively, but that is something that I definitely try to do within the league itself. And honestly, if you are somebody who wants every team to be viewed as positive, and you want, you know, everything to be celebrated, how are you even going to get those storylines? Like, I don't even understand where this guy's argument comes together. Okay, so like, you want to watch the bad teams, you want to celebrate all their good plays, and then you also want to, you know, celebrate all the top teams' good plays, but you don't want to say anything that's like potentially negative, but then there's going to be a storyline. Like, a lot of the storylines that people
it needs to be negative and positive.
At the time, for example, like Abadage versus Jizuke, like, both guys like go on my podcast and they both are like, yeah, I just don't respect the other guy. I think this guy's fucking bad. I think this guy is bad because of this. I think he's carried, like, he's bad in lane, whatever. Then when they play against each other, people are like, oh shit, who's actually going to win? I don't think the blanket positivity approach works. Like, I would love to see how this guy would want to implement this.
Is impacting the marketability and branding factor of these players to where they don't even want to try. And I don't blame them. I just think it's done some pretty harsh damage to the league.
I don't think anyone really does negative stuff in LEC, right? But the viewership continues to go down, no? Or I could be wrong. I don't have the exact data.
Viewership is down throughout the all four regions this year.
Yeah, compared to LEC, the LEC is down in viewership, even though they're adding people that are like insanely popular as well. Since implementing LCS is down compared to LEC as of April, is down 26%. But this is also with like one of the teams going to finals. Like, imagine if MKOI or KC, they fall off and they're actually like bottom tier teams again, right? Like, let's say that they both were bottom tier teams like last year. This is with the teams improving. The viewership is still going down. So it's like, what do people think is actually like going to happen?
What's going on that you can't?
Yeah, I mean, it's this COVID with post-COVID and shit like that. But it is true, like, every region has gone down for sure. I watched on someone last weekend on Yunar go up over 5k over Carson. He built Shieldbot GA and then sold LDR for BT, 3 defensive items. He sold LDR for BT. But I think every if you watch any ADC, they will buy double defensive item after they've completed their crit. Like, as an ADC, you don't have anything other than defensive items to buy after you've bought all your crit items. So I don't think we're talking a lot. I mean, you have to, you know, because if you think about it, it's like as an ADC, your itemization is very limited after you complete all your crit items. You have BT. I mean, Shieldbow is a crit item, right? But Shieldbow is like kind of a good crit item for last because it's like a defensive item, and as the later the game goes, the more damage you're going to be having, and you're going to be at the point where you're doing enough damage anyways. So then, okay, Shieldbow as the last crit item, sure. GA, always good, can be like fight changing, right? BT, good if you need lifesteal. Shouldn't have sold LDR though. If he sold LDR, he's trolling a bit. Did he sell LDR? Yeah, he did sell LDR. I don't like that. Item 3157. What item is that? I don't know. Some mage item? Actualizer? No. Yeah, I don't like that he sold LDR. I think I should sell the shield bow for LDR probably. Or no, should sell the Hex Optics. Bro, did he really? Wait, can I see his build? Did he really Oh no, he never went LDR. He went Hex Optics 47 minutes? Oh, he sold his GA. Okay, I think I understand what happened. I think I know what happened. It makes sense because he had GA, right? And then in the final fight, and then he dies. And then he sells the GA. And buys Hex Optics. No, wait, he sold Hex Optics here and bought B. What? Okay, he's trolling. I just realized he's trolling. Bro, this is the fucking Hansama LDR meme all over again. I mean, as a full build ADC, you need to have LDR in your build. Because at level 18, like if we just look at like Jarvan, even if Jarvan hasn't bought any armor, Jarvan at level 18 is gonna have how much? He's gonna have 126 armor. That's a lot of armor, you know? Like, we need LDR to be able to actually do a lot of damage in these fights. So that's definitely a big mistake. I agree with that. I don't like that at all. I think going BT though, going GA, completely normal. But yeah, should definitely have LDR. Very funny that Hamsama forgot to buy LDR again.
Attribute that to co-streamers.
Maybe sold GA and could only afford Hex Optics. No, but I think he should buy it instead of BT at 40 minutes. Instead of buying BT, he should buy LDR. Should sell the Hex Optics for LDR.
They're mostly positive, right? And I think the other region languages are all positive.
Well, I think I played competitive Call of Duty for a few years, a long time ago, and I actually was a caster as well. You worked as a caster, so you should probably understand this. When you're doing analysis in the caster's desk, there's a certain way that you give that analysis. And there's a certain level of professionalism that you need to have on a public broadcast, especially something that's as large as a Riot broadcast is. And the analysis I'm referring to that can be toxic is when, for example, you might say, this person has single-handedly thrown the entire game off of one play. And sure, while League can't operate like that in certain situations, a lot of times, League is a team-based game. There's a lot of several different factors that can go into a team winning or losing. There's plenty of times where you said this team has completely thrown the game and they come back and they win the game. So while that isn't really like the peak level of toxicity I'm talking about, where, like I said, the I Will Dominate video, where he's pretty much, there was one thing in particular where he was begging for a replay so they could watch Palafox have a mechanical misplay, and it's like mechanical misplays happen as part of the game. Obviously, they're much more important at a higher.
I mean, I don't know. I think this guy is just not the target audience, no? Like, I think it's fine.
Tier of competitive level, but that would really hurt Palafox's branding in that situation, and him as a player, right? In that you have someone who's gaining a lot of viewership, isolating that player, and pretty much putting a spotlight on calling him trash, in my opinion. They're saying he's a bad player.
All right,
so
Carpy
that's
boy.
more so what those examples were relating to, and that with the separation of Riot no longer being in control, because if you watch
Dom can be
casters,
pretty toxic.
There's certain ways that they handle
wanna see
misplays
what
and
that
certain ways that
misplay
they
was.
talk about it versus the co-streamers, which have varying effects.
I agree. So I used to refer to myself as I had LCK mode and then I had my stream mode. LCK me was very different. I had a different vocabulary, even if some people would argue that
I really enjoyed Ellis as a caster, to be honest. I really enjoyed Ellis as
still talk
caster.
similar.
I enjoyed it way more
I'm
than a
very
stream persona.
Strained on LCK broadcast. And obviously it's because of the reasons that you listed, that there's a different level of professionalism. I realize those people aren't there for me, they're there for the broadcast. But on my own stream, I don't want to be dishonest if I think that something is really wrong or bad or something. And some people might argue that there's other examples or ways to go about it. And I think that's very fluff, and I think that there's too much data that shows otherwise. Across time, and these are going to be fields that most people aren't
not
involved
farting.
in.
Why are you guys
so they
writing
wouldn't know.
fart
It's just their
Spectra?
opinion, sort of like how if more
Does
NA
it
players were in
depend or
LTA,
what?
we'd watch more. No,
I
we
do
wouldn't,
this?
because NACL is full of NA players and no one watches. I think
think it was
Riot
this.
leaned into co-streaming more and more and more, because also Riot's data showed that it needed co-streaming to stay afloat. I almost think it's like opposite of what you're saying in regards to co-streaming destroyed stuff versus
I think if LEC went the way that it was going and they just didn't ever give co-streaming, they didn't give co-streaming to Casual, didn't give it to Eba.
Yeah, but I want to see the play from Palafox. Does he show it?
See, let me have the same effect on stage.
Side of the map, Shopify here. See, they're gonna see if they can actually get it.
Yeah, there's no flash.
Kaney's getting caught out. Palafox.
Oh, Palafox with the combo. Let's go. Palafox! I like that shit, Palafox! I like that! That's some real shit, bro. You don't know about that Aurora combo. People don't know about that combo.
But his reaction is so good. What? It's not even toxic. Yeah.
Oh. Hell yeah. Bro, is this like interpreted as being like overly mean? That's the clip that he's really upset about.
That's crazy.
Oh my god, that's the combo that carried the fight right there. God damn, the forbidden combo.
Bro, and then Palafox like ints so hard as well, just missing every skill shot, jumping melee, like.
God
wow.
damn, the forbidden combo.
Jumps in point blank range onto the flame spitter, but because he has the
all right, Surdy's trying to get the work in.
Still
hell yeah, bro. I honestly feel like I'm making this match more entertaining for the viewership.
Yes.
For the viewers than if I wasn't doing this. Like, I don't know. I defend this clip. I literally defend this clip. Like, he's saying that I'm doing irreparable damage to Palafox's brand, and I think that I'm making Shopify versus Dig actually fun for the viewers. Like, I feel like people, like, I don't think that I'm doing it in a ridiculously mean way where, like, it's like, oh man, like Palafox is gonna feel so bad. He's just gonna, like, he would probably look at this and be like, yeah, I into that combo. Like, he'd laugh it off. I don't know, bro. Like, this is the shit that he thinks is killing. Like, this is the specific moment that he chose out of all my content. He chose this one moment in this one video to shit on me and say, like, oh man, this is the problem with League right here. It's because of this people aren't gonna watch again. Play a replay of that. I need a rewind on that. I'm not normally the replay guy, but this is the perfect time they're basing, bro. We're going to LCS Drake. This shit is happening. Let's go. Let's see the fucking combo. Watch Palafox here.
Bro, they even do a slowdown.
Really good. Okay. I even say that, hey, QE, I say that this part is really good. Ults, flashes in.
Bro, the observers do a slowdown, bro.
Hits the wall back, then he starts channeling the portal. He's here, he's there, he's over the wall. He's going back to his Nexus. I just almost knocked over a light. That shit was hype right there. That shit was hype. Literally looked like he had no clue where his character was. All right, bro. This game is yeah, this game is it. That's the clip. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like it's so crazy to look at that and say, like, yep, this is the reason that League Esports is dying. They literally have, like, there's so many things that you could point to. Everything that I make these videos about, like, where it comes to the format being fucking awful, the way that the franchising system has worked, the venues, all this type of stuff, you know, the schedule moving to weekdays, the way that they have.
Yeah, I think, like, for
really
example, if I was casting there, I would make fun of that, you know? Like, I think the casters, like, anybody would make fun of that.
Seasons, the lack of content, the ridiculous, like,
Palafox's last 3 teams had the same GM and it was all different orgs.
Introduction of the LCS Dome and Sushi Dragon on the broadcast, the Jax Anderson before. There's been so many things, and this is what he's like. This is the moment. This is the moment League Esports is dead. That was not even mean. Like, I don't know. That's like me, like, joking around. If I was sitting with literally one of my players and they did this, I would literally, like, be joking around with them. If I had fucking Blabber or Loki and we were doing a review and they did that, we would all laugh at the play because it's, like,
True.
objectively
It's
funny.
funny.
You know, like,
it
we'd
is
be like,
funny.
yeah, my mistake, took the wall. Like, people would just laugh at this situation because it's just funny looking, bro. He's trying to kill somebody. He ults and then he flashes over and then he ends up taking his ult and then he's channeling the portal because he, like, lost track of where his character was. It's just, like, something that you should be able to laugh at.
Which is content creator led stuff with the assistance of Riot and, like, working together.
Yeah, I think my final point that I want to get across is that I don't think that it's the sole responsibility. Obviously, this is a much bigger, more complex issue. I just think that it is a subtle factor that a lot of people don't see. And I agree with you in that I do think there is plenty of benefits, but it's a double-edged sword in that there's also negatives that brings people.
Also, like, I swear to God, like, there's this narrative that it's like, oh man, I'm like the fucking horrible guy and Cagel's the good guy. I bet you can find a clip of Cagel doing the same thing, of making fun of, like, a ridiculous play. I feel like I've seen him do that.
For sure,
where he's
yeah.
made fun of like a really bad play.
But it
that
is
looks-
true that Cadril, like Dome is more negative than Cadril. You know, like I mean, Cadril's sometimes gonna make fun of a play, but Dome is more negative than Cadril.
ridiculously funny and been like hyping up a horrible play. I'm sure Cadril's done that before too. And then somehow like he's the guy that's like super good and he's the guy that's carrying everything. And I'm the guy that's like the piece of shit and I'm the one that's killing League Esports. Like it's such bullshit, man. It's such fucking bullshit. Yeah, it's just like people like this that just push a narrative against me consistently where I'm just like the worst person in the world. I'm the one that's used as this is what's bad for League. This is the bad part of co-streaming is what I do. I don't know, man. Cadril on the Shy combo. Hold on.
So let's see here. The TP in from the Shy. Big flank. You'll see him at the bottom of the screen here.
Okay.
I think I
Flash
remember
available.
this.
Big turn by Xiaohu. Let's watch the Shy down here. Oh yeah, ultimate E flash combo right there. Then, you know what? I can't get over the wall. I'll throw my big bomba. Boom. That's how you team fight. That's the Shy right there. And then what?
That's the same shit, bro. That is literally the same shit as what I did. Why am I the f***ing Austrian painter when I do the same shit and Cadril is the Messiah? I don't get it.
And my hot take is that coaching is useless below masters, and that the practice for lower MMR players is predatory in nature.
Coaching is let me see. Coaching is useless before masters, and the practice of coaching low MMR players is predatory in nature. I disagree, and I disagree. I do think it's more valuable after masters.
That the practice for lower MMR players is predatory in nature.
Completely disagree. That coaching is useless below masters? No, I think you can help people improve a lot.
Pretty much the majority of players, when you play ranked and you like play enough ranked games, once you kind of get settled into what your rank
also,
is.
how is it predatory? How's it predatory?
That's where you're going to be. And for most players, I don't think that any amount of coaching, especially paid coaching, is going to make you improve to such a degree.
Bro, this guy has like you have growth mindset, and then you have what's the other one called? Stagnant mindset? No, fixed mindset, right? This guy has the most fixed mindset I've ever heard. Like, he thinks you just get a league rank and then you're stuck there forever.
Okay, so he thinks that it's like not worth it. So his thing is that it's not worth it to buy coaching if you're below masters. That's essentially his argument, rather than coaching is useless before masters.
The predator in terms of pricing is what you get from the coaching session you do. Not every coach is predatory. But it's still not predatory, no? You can say it's bad value. But for example, I charge a lot for my coaching, but that's just because I don't want to coach that much. And I found a price point that means I usually coach around like 2 people a week, which was a good amount for me, you know? So it's just like supply demand at the end of the day, no?
It's definitely not.
If I lowered my coaching prices, then I would coach more people, and I don't really want to coach that much more people.
Useless before masters. I could take a new player who's never played the game
Hello,
before,
Crowny.
and you don't think that like my ability to help them through.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the same. I had the most recent example I remember I had. Let me go through here and see if I can find it. But it was really cool. This guy that I coached like quite a while ago now. When I coached him, he was at first silver, and then he got platinum, and then a few months later now, this was in 2025, and now a year later, I think I coached him twice, and now he's emerald. You know, he was fucking silver. That's fucking cool. Well played to him, you know.
That would do anything positive for them. Obviously, he could probably still, play a lot of hours of the game himself, but the whole idea of coaching is to expedite the improvement process. And below masters, there's definitely a lot of things that you could point out. I've done unpaid coaching.
I got coaching and just decayed. Okay, but yeah, you also gotta want to get better.
I've been able to help players, and I've been able to see results. So I think that this is just like this
predatory
statement is
because
factual.
through coaching, people play more league and be exposed to other predators league players.
True, but I do think the industry is kind of predatory in a way, which is the reason why I don't do coaching, because the amount that I would need to charge to make it worthwhile is pretty high compared to like as a streamer. If I'm taking time away from streaming to coach, it would be pretty high. And I don't think that it matches the amount of usefulness that money could justify in another space.
You can go like a bronze player will become a diamond player, because the bronze player will always fundamentally misunderstand how the game is meant to be played. And as a result, them shelling out $250 to Nice for an hour to get yelled at, it seems pointless. And
I
it
mean, Nice is
also,
just a fraud,
makes them
though.
not want
Come
to
on.
play the game, or they, they'll develop bad, even worse fundamentals.
So saying that it's just useless, well, useless to who? Because we have piano lessons, guitar lessons, baseball lessons, whatever. If it's a hobby that you just enjoy,
Yeah, I think completely with LS here. First of all, well, yeah, he'll say everything
it's not
I think I want
inherently
to say.
useless. If it's just something that you want to get better at, maybe you want to learn something that is present inside of the game, it's not useless. If the idea is that you're doing it with a goal in mind to reach a certain point, I would agree with you to a certain degree. I don't think it's inherently useless. I do completely agree with you that nowadays it is predatory. Yeah. People buy Google slots, so their sites appear on top. They do really scammy things. They don't vet people properly. Coaches do not do a thorough enough job with
I mean, I was just getting on stream because I was up anyway. It's not like I really wanted to watch Ultra Prime versus TT. I just woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like, might as well turn on the stream.
Things, and I obviously got into that drama where I called out Nice and tried to promote other coaches, one of which was Alois. So I agree with you there. But I don't think that inherently saying that something is useless based on an arbitrary metric or by...
I mean, he's exaggerating it. If he just said coaching is predatory in nature, didn't say the useless part, I would completely agree. I think it is predatory a lot of the ways that people do it. I mean, it's not even inherently predatory.
I think for me, the only thing is the marketing aspect of it being like this. It's kind of the same with life coaching, right? Or the self-help gurus, this whole idea of if you get coaching, this will change your life or whatever, right? It's the get rich quick scheme, the get elo quick scheme type of vibe. I think it can be pretty predatory, but I think just coaching in and of itself is you're just teaching somebody for money. It's something we've done for so long, and we do it in all professions all the time, for hobbies, for everything. So it's not
it can be predatory, and a lot of the coaching space is predatory.
Claiming what the person's value is out of the coaching makes any sense, because it just doesn't.
I totally agree with you on the Masters thing. Yeah. Because me hitting Masters now means less than it. Me hitting Masters a year ago is not the same level of achievement as it was when it first came out.
Right, exactly.
Or a lower percentage of players were there. But for the coaching, when I say the broad majority of people, it's useless to them, it's because most people think that just by getting coached, they'll get better without the proper mindset of,
I'm gonna. I mean, you're getting a lesson, and then you need to apply those lessons to improve.
Go get coached in these particular things because I know I'm suffering in them, and they'll be able to guide me.
I got coaching from Vagar quite a few times, and I've also worked with a ton of coaches. And how I viewed getting coaching with Vagar when I got from him and paid and everything was, I thought to myself, this is kind of a checkup on what I need to work on right now and what my level is. I think if you are a higher end player, coaching is obviously very worth it because you're literally investing in your own career. If you are gold, then coaching is only worth it, I think, if you have a high level of disposable income and you just like learning and you want to get better at the game. I think it's also it's worth it, but it's you could get the same information just from watching YouTube videos, because the big thing that coaching provides is personalized improvement. And when you are a challenger, your mistakes are probably pretty individual because you've built up very strong habits, and for sure you could still learn through more general sources, but the higher up you go, the more personalized it needs to be. While if you're gold, there are literally thousands of videos of things to improve upon and things you can learn from. But it's the same thing with guitar, right? Let's say I was learning the guitar, I could take a guitar lesson from a guitar teacher, or I could watch a tutorial on YouTube for free.
To a better understanding of what my deficits are. People who go into that, of course, are always going to be more successful.
Yeah.
But I think that because we both agree on it being predatory, it's not pushed, it's not advertised that way. It's advertised as come pay.
But you shouldn't go you don't go to a guitar lesson thinking that the guitar lesson will make you a perfect guitar player. You go to a guitar lesson so you learn, what you need to work on, and then you need to practice outside of that, and that's where you actually get good.
Ever do coaching on stream, I would just do it unpaid. I always felt like that was kind of the trade-off. It's I get content, you get value from my coaching, and it's that's what it is. So I'll make a YouTube video out of me coaching you. That will make some amount of money. I also will have people watching me on stream, and I'll make money there, and then you'll get the benefit of the information that I'll be giving you. It's kind of how I saw it if I were to do coaching.
You'll climb in rank.
This is actually one of the reasons I stopped coaching, is because supply demand reached a certain point where I was having to be paid a certain amount for my time that did not match what I'm able to give the other person. Right. I tried to cap myself at 125, and that wasn't enough. I could have gone up as high as Max Waldo, who actually, Max has a different argument on this. Max was actually consistently getting $400 an hour from people, which is actually above Nice.
Holy fuck. 400 an hour. That's crazy.
But, you know, unlike Nice, Max is actually both good at the game and highly articulate and like other stuff.
I mean, and he was somebody who's like, you know, coached a professional team. He was the head coach of a professional team that won a split.
So with that, you know, it gets into this weird.
But he doesn't coach anymore, no, Max Waldo?
Situation.
Did he go into OnlyFans, or is that someone else?
With coaching. I will say, which goes into his point, that I don't think that everyone can become a pro, and very often that was the request of
Not
many
anymore?
people.
Okay, but
they would contact me at, you know, Diamond 1 Master and say, I want to go pro, and I don't think that that is possible.
If you're paying that much, then I feel like you've just got too much money anyway. Yeah, I think that's where I kind of like disagree with the Predatory, because I don't think, like, would a normal, sane person that doesn't have a lot of disposable income ever use $400 on a coaching session? No. Like, I feel like only rich people will do that. So then is it predatory then? It's kind of not, no? I don't know.
Hi, my name's Nicholas, and my topic point, rather, is that the game's health is sort of in dire straits, right? Because it's becoming harder and harder and harder for new players to get into the game. I guess I have had friends that I want to get into League and who want to play League, and I find it where it's like I'm trying to tell them what to focus on or try to like give them advice on like, hey, you need to learn the...
I think this is a good take. I agree. It's so hard to get into League. So many things you need to learn. I think Riot has actually improved the new player experience a bit with like quick play and shit, but yeah.
Items. So I wonder if Riot were to, in ranked specifically, cap the amount of players or characters that are in it, or craft a meta for an entire season where it's like, hey, we're going to axe these 100 champions. And so these 68 whatever are going...
I don't think that would actually help League of Legends health.
Yeah, no, that's not the idea that I had either. That would improve things. I think just a better like tutorial and a better new player experience. Or something like that.
Right, because there's people that like all those.
You also have OTPs, yeah, that wouldn't work.
Champions that are out of the pool, and then they would just get completely frustrated and quit. So I think that this is a terrible idea. But I do think the health of League of Legends is something that's really interesting to talk about, because I think that it actually just shows a shift in how people view games. I think that in earlier times, people cared way more about games that had a very difficult barrier of entry, but had a high payoff at the top end. Like that was what people kind of sought after in games. So games like StarCraft or Warcraft 3 took a lot of time to actually be able to understand what was going on, but people were like, okay, I'll learn that. I'm willing.
Sure, I think since video games before were more of a niche, people were way more accepting to have like a higher barrier to entry, but as video games have gotten more mainstream, you have more and more products that are, or more and more games, where I feel like I'm becoming like corporal speak, more and more games that are, that have a lower barrier to entry. So you need to be able to compete with that.
To, you know, accept that time deficit in order to enjoy things once I've really grasped all the rules of this game that we're playing. Whereas now it feels like people want the extremely like low barrier of entry.
Why would I spend hours learning LoL when I
jump
can
into the
step
game
on
and you can
Roblox,
kind of
Minecraft?
start
Exactly.
like playing well and like owning from the first second that you get into the game, which is why people like a lot of games that are similar. It's like you play Marvel Rivals, even if you're not somebody who's good. Like I don't play any like tac shooters or whatever the you'd call it, like hero based shooters. And I can go into a game like that and kill people, you know, and be able to have some fun, even though I'm terrible at that game, right? Like I would be a new player at that game. So I think that that is just kind of what the whole world is trending towards in other fields as well. It's like time is becoming, it feels like, more and more valuable to people, which is why they're desiring shorter form content over streams. Like streaming numbers are really
I don't think it's
down.
time. I mean, time is becoming more valuable, but also attention spans are shrinking, and attention economy is becoming more of a thing. Everything is competing for your attention. So yeah, time is becoming more valuable, I guess. But also, as a result of that, our attention spans are lower, so we have less of a willingness to stick through something bad to get to the good stuff, essentially.
Like it essentially is just losing viewership. Twitch as a whole is losing viewership year after year after year, and most people would rather digest the content in a video form or in a short form than, in long form. So I just feel like this is kind of how attention span is moving, and that's why League of Legends is going to be very hard to, ever get back a huge amount of players, because people just don't want to spend the amount of time that it takes to get good at League of Legends when they could have a much quicker learning curve in a different game.
To be for the entire ranked season, this meta of champions. Would that even work in terms of like making the game more approachable for new players?
So there's two different topics going on here. So the argument of making the game more approachable for new players, you're specifically saying Summoner's Rift, while not acknowledging that there's other game modes that exist to help new players learn the game. When I first started playing League of Legends, I know Jace was out, so that was champion number 100. And I think at this current point in time, we're 170. Riot's answer to this is, in addition to the WASD movement, Brawl. Brawl is an 8-minute game mode.
I think WASD is good.
Or it's meant to be. And much like if you play trading card games or something and you get to experience a new set, if you do it in a draft format, you see all the cards. The games are just going, you're cycling, everyone has different decks, etc. You're seeing everything. Brawl is a really good stepping stone to Summoner's Rift, where I agree with you, in Summoner's Rift, you might just see the same few champions over and over and over, and you don't even see anything. And when I was first playing League, it felt like Pokemon, and there were no, and there's guides and stuff, but that requires a lot of time. So Brawl is a really good stepping stone. Arena is a good stepping stone. That's intentionally why these things are there. That's why they're being made.
Think you should add back Twisted Tree Line?
That's why WSD is coming.
I think the new game modes are way better.
And
Twisted Tree Line was kind of boring. I remember when I started playing League, I played 3v3. I loved Twisted Tree Line as a kid when I first played League. But if you compare it to the new game modes they do, the new game modes are way better. Like ARAM Mayhem, Arena, they're way more interesting. And Twisted Tree Line was kind of like... There's probably a way to make it more interesting. You could bring it back in some shape or form. But would it be more interesting than a different idea? I'm not sure.
I think that's also
But the other thing is that
I'll take, guys, it's just, this is nostalgia maxing to the max. They removed Twisted Tree Line because nobody played it. If it was good, people would play it.
People have like this addiction. A lot of players have addictions to like ranked ladders and competitive.
Imagine Arena Twisted Tree Line. Aren't they kind of doing that? Aren't they testing 3v3 Arena?
And there's no ranked in those modes, so people feel like, oh, well, I'm not even really playing the game.
Wild Rift.
People don't really play games for fun that much anymore compared
Twisted
to what
Tree Line 3v3 ranked. Okay. There was the Twisted Tree Line pre-rework that was really, really fun, and then they reworked it, and then it slowly fell off, and then it was boring. But the first, like, the nostalgia max factor, when you first tried out League, you played 3v3 with your two friends, that was really, really fun. And then 3v3 just didn't scale that well, and then suddenly Summoner's Rift became the only mode anybody played.
They used to,
was partly made. Riot is trying to find ways that acknowledge that people don't have a lot of time and acknowledge that the game is very overwhelming with the barrier to entry. And they're trying to make ways that you can play with friends.
Twisted Tree Line was so much fun when I first started playing League. I remember I would go to school, I'd be so excited to come back. I remember one of my first games I played Shen, and I would just stack one of the, I don't remember what it was called even, it was the HP regen item. I just had this idea of if I had enough HP regen, the enemy couldn't kill me. I was like 10 years old at the time, so it wasn't that I was deficient mentally. And then I would also spam Vampiric Scepter, and I would go Vampiric Scepter, like 6 Vampiric Scepter on Shen.
I definitely see that those game modes are specifically built for that. I guess more like, so in that scenario of like, hey, if they tried,
they removed it.
That where like they would craft a meta for a season.
I kind of miss
take
old
like
Shen,
70 champions just out of the game specifically in ranked. Would that
even
work or be healthy for the game?
You kill their product.
When you start playing League,
they can't generate money. Some people only play the game for their specific champion.
It's been so long now. It's crazy.
And so, are you gonna make a concession where Lux, Yasuo, Ezreal, these champions must always be in the
one tricks only say, but everyone has a one trick. Every champion has a one trick.
I mean, Riven has to be in there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
One of the conversations that
old League is
internally.
What I would really want, to be honest, is like an old League server, like how you have how you had the private WoW and then it became WoW Classic. I think a League Classic would go kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, the game was like, for sure there were a lot of things that were like misremembering, but I think for sure for the first few weeks, League Classic, a lot of people will be playing that shit.
is one of the suggestions that to
Like,
cause
I feel like what would be really cool is if Riot made League Classic, and you know how in WoW they've done like League Classic and it slowly catches up to retail. I feel like what would be really cool is if Riot did like League Classic and every month was a season or something. So you had like season 1 would be like January, season 2 would be February, season 3 would be March, right? And it would just go up and up and up. That would be really cool.
viewership to be different, they could do sealed formats
Something
across
like
the
that.
regions. So NA could be given this pool of 100 champions, Europe's given this pool, Korea's given this pool. Makes every region look different. And then there's the Worlds tournament, which everyone's given the same pool. That's a different argument to Iron Man. It's different. And again, this is a
Okay, I don't know.
I don't fuck with that at all.
They're overcooking it hard. I want to go to next take.
that I argue about with Twitter all the time, or just anyone.
Discernibility. What's
The
discernibility?
topic that I do want to talk about is one of the main things that I argue about with Twitter all the time, or just anyone in general. Most people don't have discernibility to tell the differences, and thus this makes debates and conversations, even between figureheads, personalities, whatever,
never heard
often a
discernibility
popularity
before.
contest more than anything else.
Ability to discern.
I guess to a certain extent I agree with you, but just
It's kind of everything, no?
to take that one step further, I think you
Is this not like just a very elitist take that nobody can understand the world as best as I can, or?
would probably say that you have this like discernibility, but really what you're referring to is probably certain proxies that you're looking at in a player's gameplay. Like, what's their APM? Are they using F keys? Like, how close are their clicks to their player character? And I think on one hand, you can say that like anybody else, if they agreed with you that these are important proxies,
Harvard hoodie.
could,
I feel you should only be allowed to wear a Harvard hoodie if you actually went to Harvard. You know, I don't know if this guy did or not, but I feel like that should be like legal, you know?
I agree.
probably
I agree with
gain
that.
some of that discernibility and find similar players who are just as good. But then
Like,
if you,
imagine
But do people that didn't go to Harvard wear a Harvard t-shirt, like hoodie? That sounds like loser energy, to be honest.
just started wearing a Harvard hoodie.
Like,
Video on stream, like you guys would be like, "Damn, the streamer is so smart. This is
Esport
by far the
2
smartest co-streamer."
TV.
go
Thank you
one
for the
step
raid.
further from that,
Appreciate
why
that.
are we using proxies instead of the actual performance itself? So I think no matter which way you cut it, whether it's discernibility, scrims, what have you, at the end of the day, it's just going to boil down to a popularity contest, as you said.
Right, and that's part of the problem, though. One of the things that I've always advocated for, and I know that
EMA
Dr.
finals
Osborne
is
has
today.
had conversations with
Wait,
me
really?
publicly about this, is the need to demonstrate. I'm always an advocate about demonstrating. It was what I always, tried to push people to do. Whenever I would argue for the demonstration of freezing or demonstrating this, it's a demonstration that I'm arguing for. It's not I'm LS. It should have nothing to do with that I'm LS, like the mid-turret argument. The mid-turret argument is not an argument
that
because I'm
triggered me.
LS.
That
I'm saying
ping
that
noise
it's like
triggered
the mid-turret. It's not I'm LS.
Oh, I feel like I've heard this so many times. Maybe I just.
It should have nothing to do with that I'm LS.
Bro, that fucking ping
Why don't you
noise
co-stream
triggered
events faster say on both sides of the fight? I didn't even know it was today. I had no idea.
the fuck out of me. I was like, "Do I have a game open? What?" Some of your content.
I'm LS. I'm saying that mid-turret is bad. It's because of what I can explain on why it's bad, and then I can respond.
I agree with LS on paper, but then he also like the problem I have with LS is that sometimes I feel like he does use authority. Like he will be like, "Who the fuck are you, random Twitter user 654?" Like, because sometimes he'll be very like use ad hominem and shut and attack people. And overall be very like condescending in the way he argues, which I can be condescending too, so I understand where he's coming from. But I just like
onto any questions thrown out.
There was no English broadcast? There was no English broadcast for EU Masters Finals? Bro, when I won that shit in 2022, there was like 60,000 people watching, and now 4 years later, there's no broadcast? Oh my god, bro, esports is so cooked. I think it was more than 60k, I think it was like 100k. So we went to game 5. It was BDS Academy, I was with Crowny on enemy team, Crowny and Adam.
As to why it's bad, and I can keep going and demonstrating why. And nowadays we have practice tool that can, it can go more than just one person.
We get it, bro. You were the reason Master was popular. Yada yada.
No one uses it.
It's
Very few
PTSD.
people
Maybe
use
it is.
which is really sad and unsettling almost. The discernibility thing that I'm mostly talking about that wasn't about like the F keys and hotkeys and all this other stuff that you were referring to is if you see a trade unfold in a game in mid lane or maybe a team fight, do you have the wherewithal to realize what the alternatives were? Do you see how the person could have stepped differently, aimed a skill shot a different way, and because they didn't, that's the blunder? Could they have gone to Baron instead of Dragon based on X, Y, and Z reasons without just relying on the results?
And I think most people, but this is also like hard for me because it's like most people don't have enough good enough game knowledge to know what's the optimal play at all times. But then you just end up, doesn't this argument just devolve into you can only criticize if you are like an expert, pretty much? And then you just get into like, oh, like, I don't know.
Because when you just rely on the results, you can get really false data that can lead you into doing the same thing over and over. One of my main gripes, and we've actually seen the evolution of like natural evolution in League, the NARAMs have stopped the last few years. One of the things that I used to complain about, they're actually much more rare nowadays. Because intuitively, pro players got their ass kicked enough by failing a NARAM and losing the game over it, that now intuitively, we get the 5 minutes of doom. Because they've realized that NARAMing is a lower EV than just farming waves, letting the waves walk up. And it took them years to do this. The same way that when Riot nerfed lane swaps in March, my immediate tweets in response
Better players
to
should have Bryo in debates. Joker, you're bottom of the board then, I'm afraid. All of Twitch chat, and then we got you, my friend.
Nerfed, here's how you still do them. But it took 3 months to come back.
I had to, guys. He rage baited me for an hour straight. I had to.
Demonstrate that it's still viable. And that's the main fucking point. People seem to think that I just want to be right.
I mean, lane swaps, I mean, they did completely go away. People still lane swap at a different timing, which is something that happens, but that's, I mean, it was supposed to be level 1 lane swaps that people didn't want to see in the game.
Or that
which is
I'm
what were completely nerfed,
to my own authority, or I'm appealing to my own history and stuff.
Now your chat bandwagoners are lower than me. I find it fascinating. If I have like one person that questions me, I question my beliefs. But you can have 100 people that question your beliefs, and yet you will still say, no, they must all be wrong. That's impressive.
Always been demonstrating, and it's really alien and weird to me that people don't want demonstration, and they oppose it almost. Even often just appealing to authority, right? The famous clip of Cadril saying that I just say 100 things, some stick, whatever. A lot of the things that he said in that clip came true after enough time passed that year.
I think
Sorry, that was long.
Maybe this could also be like a linguistic problem too, where I think a lot of the times,
bro, that guy went to Harvard for sure, bro. That guy went to Harvard for
the
sure.
language that is being used, people, it just flies by people's ears.
Yeah,
and I think if they understood you, they might agree more. Like when you talk about a lot of options that people can do in lane, like, oh, get soul instead of Baron, XYZ, they'll be like, oh, people are human, they're going to make mistakes, so this is why XYZ is actually better. And then it turns out that statistically, this other strategy allows you to make more mistakes and still win the game. So I think maybe what it comes down to is people just not understanding things like statistics and risk at a high enough level.
Sure, that is the problem. And I don't like to limit my language. I like to be really specific with words that I use. That's why I used to just always look up words and whatever so that I could be more accurate.
This would go hard.
Some things obviously.
I don't know. I'm zoning out a bit. This part was so boring. This part for me feels like when people just use big words to sound smart. Like, I don't even know what this debate's about even.
Over the years is that people have different interpretations of what word means.
I don't get it. I can't ban this guy in my chat.
Sometimes people are not native English speakers, and so I struggle with that. It's advantageous to speak at a 6th grade level. That's just objectively true. I really struggle with that when having conversations.
What did you say? It's advantageous to speak at a 6th grade level?
To speak at a 6th grade level. That's just English speakers true. I really struggle with that when having conversations. So the question that I wanted to ask is how many people think I don't include human error in things that I say? If there's any raise of hands.
Put But for me, the problem has never been that Ellis doesn't include human error. It's just that he's too like stubborn, and he's like he has the one way of viewing things, and then even when people come with opposing views, like I think for me, there's always a lot of nuance, and nuance is boring. People don't like nuance. People want it to be black and white. There's like the one good thing, and it's like the worst thing ever. But so much time there's just like a lot of nuance, and for me, LS, I feel like it always paints a pretty black and white picture, and that's the biggest thing I. But
after it in, but a lot we can talk about is math.
Sure. But how many people think I don't entertain that I'm talking about human beings?
I mean, I think that the way that Ellis speaks about things is, I would say that he has like a defined amount of human error that he doesn't, when I hear him talk about a lot of things, he doesn't view human error as like pure variance. It's just like a consistent amount of human error that can be like accounted for almost.
When I'm suggesting,
yeah, I agree. I kind of agree with that.
They should do this or that.
And ban this
you do.
Wongle
Okay.
Dongle guy. Won't let me ban him. Tried so many times.
Perhaps.
Fucking
Get
annoying.
banned, Wongle Dongle, bro.
In regards
Nerf
to that,
banning or what?
how is that possible when the advocacy that I preach for in draft allows the team to make more errors and still win?
Yeah.
How is that not a direct appeal to human error? That is directly correlated with the acknowledgement of humans. Because if it was the opposite, well,
I mean, it's just like reasonable human error, right? Like a lot of the ways that I view things is like, yeah, sure. I mean, if you advocate for a scaling approach, I would say that sure, you can make arguments for both sides, right? On one side, you're allowed to make more mistakes because the game is naturally winning as it goes longer. But the way that I see the game, and like one of the reasons why I was really an advocate of champions like Renekton and Italy when it was played by top tier players, is I think that it's easier to make the mistakes on the scaling side than it is to make the mistakes on the winning side. If you just have like a fucking comp where you're going to be able to, this is like during the first Herald meta, where you're going to be able to guaranteed crash a certain amount of waves and you're guaranteed going to be able to dive, it's pretty easy. Like I think it's extremely reliable to see Canyon hit a Nidalee spear on somebody that's Renekton W'd, right? And that's going to get you a turret, that's going to get you enough of a lead that at the crucial points of the game, where the game is going to be decided, third Drake, Soul, etc., you're going to have enough of a lead that you don't have to play as well as the scaling side.
Oh my god, are we doing early game versus scaling?
Pretty
Who's
much.
the best champ in the game? Karthus is broken. We're all going to script like Kog'Maw. Everyone's going to space glide on Twitch.
LS dropped his take on the co-streaming situation. Everybody hold. He's going to be pro co-streaming. Co-streaming drama is a diversion from the real problem that isn't co-streamers reward culture, but pro players still don't understand it's the viewers first sport and that viewers are the most important. Pros have no personality. I agree. I mean, this is just true. I think the pros have no personality. I don't really agree with. I just think pros don't show their personality because I think pros are people, bro. But I do think this part I really agree. Pro players still don't understand it's a viewer first sport. That part I 1,000 times percent agree. So many people that I've played with did no content whatsoever. No content. They didn't think of it as part of being a pro. And I think that fundamentally needs to shift. If you are a pro player, then you are an entertainer. You are a content creator. You are a part of this ecosystem now, whether you like it or not. So you have to create content.
And obviously I'm not
You have to give people a reason to care.
doing these things.
I can answer like what's happening to a certain extent. Is that people come into your stream with a certain model of how the game is played and how it should work. And even if they hear you say something, they plug it into their model and they're like, oh, in my model, that's something that it seems like like human error would prevent people from doing it. So
I mean, Vitality, I think, is a really good example of, yes, they're super entertaining in and out of game. They all show their personality very clearly. They're all just like 5 guys enjoying the game. And as so many people, and I asked people, like, what team are you supporting in LEC? The majority of people said Vitality. Like, most people that weren't already like an MKOI fan, KC fan, G2 fan, Fnatic fan, whatever, are now interested in Vitality.
Then we go back to language, like, how can we create a shared model of the game that allows people's ideas to interact with each other using...
I mean, I think the other problem that people have with LS is that he'll say that he'll like purposely exaggerate certain claims because he's trying to like get to the point. So for example, like he'll say like mid turret is useless. Like what does getting mid turret do? Like it gives you 112 gold or something, which is like, yeah, okay, that's
that one was pretty exaggerated
with X amount of people. And yes, you should not lose the game for to attack the enemy mid lane turret, right? And there's a certain trade-off that you'll have with the enemy mid lane turret. But there's a lot of champions that function a lot worse when they have no mid lane turret than when they do have a mid lane turret. So versus a mobile champions, it's very good to generally find a timer in the game if you have winning sides to push out a side lane and then move mid and take the mid lane turret. And I'm sure that like Ellis agrees with that taking the mid lane turret is good. He doesn't like when teams do ridiculous things and lose the game for mid lane turret. Like they overvalue the objective at such a ridiculous degree that they end up losing more than they gain for killing the mid lane turret. So I think that's like a problem that people have is like mid lane turret is definitely not useless. Mid lane turret is definitely not it's not, I think, you know, there was grubs in the game. It's not like grubs were actually useless. Yes, they're not going to win you the game, but they're not useless. They do provide value. I mean, you can have a lot of games where taking the mid lane turret allows you to play way differently. A lot of mobile champions don't have the ability to then catch the wave in the same spot, right?
Yeah, like if I'm playing fucking Varus mid, and I think ADC players can relate to this the most, and maybe I don't think Ellis has played much ADC, but the way you can play the game when you have mid tower versus when you don't is so different. It's so hard to actually ever contest mid waves after you lose the mid tower, especially if you're playing something like Varus, Civ, or something mobile, Aphelios, because you have to be so much more worried about any threats.
If you have a mid lane turret, then a champion that is mobile, like Varus in a game versus like Vi or whatever, can catch the mid wave pretty high. Like he can catch the mid wave in the middle of the lane because if Vi ults him, he'll be able to flash it to his turret and then he'll probably be able to kill the Vi. But if he doesn't have a mid lane turret, if a mobile champion doesn't have a mid lane turret, they have to catch the wave way deeper, which allows you to essentially get prio on every single wave, which means that you can easily control enemy jungle while somebody's catching that wave, and it just gives you a point of pressure to potentially like get faster tracks when you're rotating, have prio on objectives, make the enemy team run into you. Like there's a lot of value that comes from the mid lane turret that I think a lot of people, if you were to listen to only LS when he's exaggerating, you would get a different perspective of. So I think that's where like people have issues with, I guess, like the speech.
The same basis of understanding. Right. To a certain extent, this is like the entire problem of like humanity and our democracy is how can we come to a understanding of a shared factual basis from which we can build on and hopefully like reach this discernibility or reproducibility that
Holy fuck. This last conversation felt so...
All right, I like the video, to be honest. I thought a lot of people really didn't like this video, but maybe it's because like I'm answering the questions myself where like I felt like I wasn't able to engage with the video.
Yeah, I think it was a good video. I liked it. Good job, Dom. Good job, FlyQuest.